good technique, he will be elite. If his technique becomes great, not just good, then he's a Hall of Famer.
Going down again, and it's Q. Quincy Williams.
Fighting through contact, fighting through offensive line, being a double team, multiple moves stacked into one, just a play of pure domination. This is actual film, this is actual football talk. It's a football show, we're supposed to talk football, not storylines.
And you are listening to another edition of Blewett Blitz Live. Kyle, we're talking about a little bit pre-stream. We have a shit ton to talk about tonight, so I'm excited to delve deeply into all these topics.
Yeah, me too, man.
Yeah. Kyle's in a different spot. He's in.
Yeah, and I hit my damn cable on my microphone to disconnect it, so that's part of the reason why it was awkward.
Yeah, you're super loud right now. I don't know what that's about, but you're like extraordinarily loud.
Is it still that loud?
No, now you're better. I think the excitement maybe came out so much that you just couldn't contain your voice level, that you were screaming into the microphone when we first started. What's up, Eagle, Maxwell, Steven, Mike, Verge, Jordan? I see my friend Tom DeLuca's in here. I'm not sure if he's still in here. Eagle said aloud as F Kyle. So at Kyle J. Smith. Now it's better. Okay, so perfect. So we have, again, a ton to talk about.
See, I'm dedicated. You asked me if I was ready. I'm doing this from the hotel room right now, not my normal spot. So I'm ready, man. And apparently you are too.
Yeah.
See,
yeah.
Joe Blewett actually, took off of work so he could go the usual time tonight. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that out loud.
No, I don't care. What is it? I my time's off. My time's off. Now, if I took a sick day off, and then you said that, and then one of my bosses was watching, I might get screwed over. But we're good. Even though I could be sick from my house, right, and still doing a live stream, you don't know how I'm feeling right now. I could have diarrhea.
That's true.
You can only see the top half of me. Correct. So
yeah,
exactly. It would be a little noisy, but bunch of exciting stuff coming. We have our fantasy draft tomorrow night, Kyle, with the JetX subscribers.
Yeah, 18 people deep.
18 people deep. It's gonna get a little. It's gonna get competitive. I think it's gonna be pretty fun. We have the Discord for that. We have the Pick'ems.
Dude, imagine this. Somebody, 18 teams. That's so deep that somebody's gonna have garbage Sam Darnold on their team. That's how deep this league is. Someone is going to have to be forced to take him. And it ain't going to be me. I'll tell you that right now.
I am so curious about the backup quarterback situation because there's only 32 starters. So what are we going to do? I don't know. It's going to be fun. What's up, Busted Knuckles and Yoshi? He said, Yoshi, Kyle excited this season must be different. That's crazy. Shayan Masood Ahmed. I don't know if I'm saying that right. The one thing I will say tonight before we get into all the topics, there is so much to talk about in terms of cuts and who didn't make it, who's on the practice squad and potential trades, and Reuben Foster coming in to visit. We're going to talk about a little bit. Then we're going to do the top 25. That's not even including the top 25. I will try to get to the chat. I will not be able to get to everything there. It's impossible, especially once more people get in here. There's 100 plus people here. I'm just not going to be able to do it. The live stream, though, the other day, by the way, Kyle, if you noticed, I went to 4:00 in the morning, but I can't do that right now. I cannot do that.
Oh, yeah,
so,
I noticed.
Yeah, and Kyle, you got to see it really quick. You got a chance to see my Dynasty roster, too, which you were thoroughly impressed with, by the way.
Yeah. Listen, obviously, football, so that's part of the reason why it's good. But what does that say about the other people in the league? I mean, if they could let you get that many good players.
Well, the thing is, it's a dynasty. So if I draft AJ Brown in the 3rd round of his rookie year, and he turns into a stud, Stephon Diggs, I think I got the 4th round because him coming to Buffalo, it wasn't like he was now one of the leading receivers in the NFL. So some of them I got lucky, but one of the other guys is in the chat actually, who I'm offering some trades to. Actually, I pulled the trade, but Ali said, "What's up, show? Kyle, Jets fan. Full disclosure, I've been listening and watching your tape breakdowns for years. Awesome. What's up, TJ?" Prediction for week 1. We're going to talk about week 1 in a little bit. So other than that, Kyle, I think the only thing I have to say in terms of the housekeeping, Pick'ems, watch for emails. Please, if you are on the Pick'ems, send me your shit. Don't make me track you down every single week. I will get angry and not let you in next year because it's a pain in the ass. Nick, get in Discord. You're the only person not in Discord. We're going to get you in there if you're listening. And Kyle, this is our last stream before week 1. So again, I'm not like.
By the way, with the Discord, I'm a little disappointed with how the shit talking's going. I was trying to talk shit to people like
we even draft teams yet.
So I know who I'm playing week 1. I was talking shit to Eagle and he didn't even respond.
Eagle responds to everything. That's
why I was surprised. I mean,
Yeah.
he's just, I guess, ignoring me.
Yeah, you're not important enough. Yeah, this is our last stream before week 1, so I'm not gonna we're not promoting where we're going necessarily in terms of we're going to this bar, we're going to that bar, we're going to this tailgate. I'm not really sure yet, Kyle, and 2, if you are looking to hang out, do whatever, tailgate, go to the same bar we are, whatever. Again, tweet me, message me, email me, Joe.Blewett at jetsxfactor.com, Jets with an X, with an S. And that's about it. Other than that, pretty excited. And then after this, actually, after week 1, our weekly streams start with you one week, and then Michael Nania and sometimes Sabo every other week. So other than that, Shaq Lawson review too. Forgot about that. That's coming out probably tomorrow or the next day. I'm doing a Shaq Lawson review. So that was necessary.
How many plays you think?
I could tell you. I think it's 43 plays. 42, 43 plays. So
first impression. Give us a brief little overview.
First impression, I think he's I just to be super simplistic, I think he's a decent starter. I think he's an above average run stuffer, and I think he's an okay pass rusher. Not so much versatility in terms of his pass rush, in terms of consistency of moves and counter moves. He's not the most twitchy, bendy athlete, but in terms of a good run stuffer who could push the pocket a little bit with bull rush, especially when he gets tight elbows and he gets leverage, his leverage under you, then he looks pretty good. So it's he's okay, which is fine for a 6th round pick. We traded Jordan Willis and a 7th round pick for Shaq Lawson. That's pretty much what it was. So let's get into that first, because you brought it up, Kyle. What are your overall impressions in terms of Shaq Lawson?
I haven't really watched much of him. I didn't even I had stopped doing my AFC show by the time that he was drafted by the Bills. So I wasn't even watching him every game. I used to watch for the couple of years that I did my show. I used to watch every Bills game, coach's film. So by the time they had him, I wasn't even doing that anymore.
Yeah.
So I never watched him super close. I mean, I watched the Jets Bills games when he was with them, and I obviously watched him last year with the Dolphins, but I never thought he was a great player. But I mean, listen, he was the 19th overall pick. There is some level of talent there. I'll know a lot more after I watch your review.
Yeah.
It's kind of when I saw it, I was like, okay, they got him for a 6th round pick for this year. That's fine. And I think that they can cut him next year. Who knows if he shows out this year, maybe they'll keep him next year. I don't know.
Well, he's making about $1.5 million this year, and then the Texans had to pick up some of his guaranteed money or whatever it was for next year. And I think he's making about $5 million next year, right about $5 million. So it's not even $9 million. So if he's a decent enough starter to hold down an edge spot, and you bring him in next year, and even if he's a good rotational piece for $5 million a year, you don't bring back Curry, you have him as a backup, hopefully a DN in the 1st or 2nd round. You got Huff as a backup, so I think it's very possible that they bring him back. But I have the full list of strengths and weaknesses. I'm not going to read it off. That is for the, I'll do it eventually, but that's for the subscribers initially. And like I said, I'm not going to be able to get all the chat. I do apologize. Super chat is always available. We always appreciate it, but I'll get to it really quick. Shadow is saying maybe in our league we should have make a rule to only have 1 QB per roster unless the QB is an IR or bye week. No, you better draft a backup quarterback. That just is what it is, or look for injuries or whatever it may be. Huff will get some snaps on 3rd down 100%. TJ Busted Knuckles said, get ready for a 5-hour stream. It's not happening. About 3.
Hey, Indy. Will Kyle also hate Quincy Williams? Indy? All I'm going to say is we're doing.
Oh, that's on Rocket, by the way.
We're doing the top 25 Jets. Just watch the whole show, or at least watch the part where we get towards the top guys. And I'll just say that for right now.
Yeah. Nick's Integra. We're going to talk about the trades in a little bit. Verge says he's out with the wife and kids. He'll be back later. I know that you will.
Yeah. Verge.
Rusty, John.
Verge is one of the loyals.
Oh, yeah. 100%. Salmon Jets Instagram is down. I usually get my news on IG. Why? Twitter's so much quicker. Chris Shaq Lawson, I think it's $5 million. But yeah, it's I like it in terms of, okay, he's not a Carl Lawson replacement 1-for-1, obviously. No. And people were talking like, and this is another misconception, he's a Vinny Curry replacement. They're gonna play different roles. Vinny Curry was a 3rd down edge rusher. Shaq Lawson is a 3-down player who is more of a run stuffer than a pass rusher, but can offer that run stuff. So you think Shaq Lawson's going to come in here and just being a third down player just for his pass rush, you're completely wrong. That's not what he is.
Question for you. I totally agree that he's not a replacement for Carl Lawson. But Carl Lawson is, maybe you can consider him above average against the run. Very good as a pass rusher. And this might be premature for you to answer this question, but do you think that Shaq Lawson is possibly a better run stuffer than Carl Lawson?
Yeah, I think so. I think Lawson was more of an average run stuffer. Like there was flashes of him being above average. But Shaq Lawson's a consistently pretty good run stuffer. So I would say he's a better run stuffer than Carl Lawson. Nick's Integra, Joe just,
by the way, preview for the top 25. I factored that a little bit in, the whole Carl Lawson run stuff in my rankings.
Nick's Integra just saw the invite message today, but it's not letting me join. Are you talking about the Discord, Nick's Integra? I don't know if you're in the actual league or if you're you're talking about the Discord. If you're the Nick who I've emailed a couple of times, you didn't answer me for like 3 days, then that's you. But I'll email you back or whatever. But with that, by the way, for the 17 people who are watching, who are in that league, Discord tomorrow night, we'll be doing like a talking shit live segment. If you want to call in, whatever, we'll be on Discord. Eagle said, I don't know if you answered the Nick Foles question, but if you are the Jets trade for Foles, I would make the Bears give up 2 mid-rounders on top of that trade to take that contract. Any thoughts?
I don't like that at all. So if I'm not mistaken, Julian Edelman, longtime Patriot, won all those Super Bowls with the Patriots, knows the culture really well and stuff. If I'm not mistaken, he went out and said publicly that part of the reason they cut Cam Newton, it had nothing to do with the stupid vaccination status or whatever. It had to do with the fact that if you're going to start Mac Jones and you got Cam looking at her, so let's say he's a rookie, he's going to struggle. All rookies struggle. At some point in the season, a rookie's going to struggle. You would have some portion of the fan base say, why don't we just put Cam in? Cam's a former MVP quarterback who went to the Super Bowl. That would hinder the rookie quarterback's development. I think that's what Jules said. That's the reason why they cut Cam. So you bring in Foles, and we've said this many months ago because people have been talking about Foles for months. I don't think it's good. Listen, Foles will forever have some street cred within some circles of the NFL and with some fans. Like that dumb asshole at the stadium at the green and white practice that was saying we should start Sam because Zach Wilson struggled a little bit at the green and white. That is one of those idiots that would say, oh, we should start Nick Foles if we got him. He won a Super Bowl. We should start Nick Foles.
So you don't want Cam Newton?
No, I don't want Cam and I don't want Nick Foles because there's a lot of dumb idiots Jets fans because Zach's going to struggle. He's going to have a couple bad games this year, right? He might not have nearly as many bad games as Sam Darnold has had over the years.
Aren't you supposed to be the calm guy? Like ignore those people. Who cares about their opinions? Because now my problem is we're in Carolina. We're at week 2. Kyle, it seems like a nice guy, but he has like an inner darkness. It's there. I know Kyle. There's something there that I can see Kyle going off. Dude,
I was
my friend Tom, who was here, who will be going to both games. Tom, the way to explain, and he's one of my best friends of all time. He is the most chill, relaxed dude ever, like a typical like hippie from the 60s. But then he's like 150 pounds. He'll fight Mekhi Becton. He does not care. And when you go to a Jets game and somebody's talking crap about the Jets, it goes off. So if you and Tom are together and I'm trying to be the peacemaker where I'm drinking, we have a problem. So you need to take your level down right now because I'm not the peacemaker. You can ask Tom. So we need to chill. Okay. So just the dumb idiot fans are throwing out 2 like kind of negatives. They're kind of the same word, but we'll skip on that. We did just deep breath, Kyle, and then continue your thought. But you just I need you to hone it in for me a little bit, okay?
Dude, I used to be a big hothead back in the day, man. You know,
oh shit.
First semester in college, I was in 2 fights. But you know, I've calmed down a lot over the years and stuff. But I don't try to ever be aggressive. I don't try to ever start stuff. But if someone starts stuff and they keep pursuing it, man, like if I have to defend myself or you know, but at a football game, I ain't gonna start a fight over a football game though. But I do like talking shit though.
Yeah, it's a little bit different when you're at the. Okay, Nick's Integra, I got you. I'll invite you to the Discord again. Just please join for tomorrow night. So I told people I'm not going to answer the chat a lot. Now people are tagging me. I'm going to get to the chat right now, and then after that, I'm going to have to go a lot to the show again. Throw a super chat, I'll answer it, but there's way too much to talk about. I appreciate you guys chatting, but it's hard, as you guys know, with all these chats and topics. The Nick Foles thing, I don't think we get a mid-round pick or 2 mid-round picks to take on his contract. His contract is not that big, right? It's like $5, $6, $7 million, whatever it is. He's still a valuable asset. Now with a guy like Cam Newton, who his mindset is more that he wants to start, I don't want that because maybe he's not as willing to help out as Zach Wilson. There might be some storylines that he might play into a little bit, where Foles, I think, knows his role. So I'll be cool with Foles because a lot of people talk about the backup quarterback situation. And Kyle, we talk about it so much, it's almost sickening to talk about it still. Is if Zach Wilson goes down, doesn't matter. Okay, well, you want that guy in the room with him. We already discussed the whole thing. Okay, teacher to teacher, do you go to your principal before you go to another teacher? You know, in my line of work, do I go to my chief or do I go to another guy? In your guys' lines of work, I'm sure you go to a guy who's on your level over your boss in terms of asking questions. And listen, Nick Foles, John Johnson, whoever, or Josh Johnson, these guys have been on an NFL field, so they can relate and discuss things where you can't say, hey, Mike LaFleur, what did you see when you were in this play and this time in this game? He's like, I never took a snap in NFL games. So you want that guy in the locker room with them. And again, it's that which is more important to me. Or that's what's really important to me. And two, let's say we don't know what's going to happen this year. We can't guarantee it. I don't think any of us think the Jets are going to the playoffs. But the Jets are 6-6. It's week 14. Zach Wilson goes down. He bruises his thumb or breaks his thumb or whatever it is for a game or two. And now you have Mike White trotting in, that's going to be our savior to maybe win a game. It's not going to happen. So I'll be okay with that. I just don't think they get a mid-round pick to take him. But continue on.
So be honest with me. You're not concerned. You don't have the same concern that I have with Foles specifically. Foles won a Super Bowl.
I'm not concerned with what fans think. I know the Jets and even Foles will be supporting Wilson. You're not going to bench your number 2 overall pick for Nick Foles. Game or two.
Okay. I don't believe in curses and things like that. Like some of these fans honestly do. But we are such a fan base that's been scorned by bad quarterback play that fans turn quickly on a quarterback. Remember, there were Tebow chants in the stadium.
Who gives a shit? Who if those fans are shooting the minority, and who cares?
You don't play any. If MetLife Stadium, Zach Wilson's home stadium, if you heard Foles chants, you don't think that that's anything to be concerned about?
I give Jets fans not a ton of credit at times. I give them more credit than that, unless he's like struggling absurdly, which I do not see.
He had a 5 interception game, like Sanchez had his rookie year. Which, by the way, I went to.
Not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
I doubt it too. He's not like Sanchez.
That's the point where you, I, and Tom and all my friends, that's when we get kicked out of the stadium. But no, I'm not concerned about it. I think fans are smarter than that to be cheering for Nick Foles. They know what Zach Wilson is. But again, I hit the chat really quick. Then I got to go on to the topics. Snoopy, what's up? I've seen you a couple times. I'm very curious to know if Carl Lawson's injury is something that we could have been detected during medicals before signing. We discussed this a little bit, Kyle. It is something that breaks down over time, typically with the Achilles. But can they tell? Can they not tell? I'm not a doctor, so I don't know. The thing I could say is obviously with the 2 ACL tears and multiple other leg injuries, your leg starts to kind of depend on other muscles, depending on which, like, okay, you tear your ACL, now you're gonna be relying a little bit more on your Achilles, or you tear your MCL, now you're relying more on your ACL, whatever it is. So once you start to have a lot of injuries, they kind of pile up. So that's something that they definitely should have considered. But I don't know.
But here's the question though. But with he's a day one type of signing. With a guy like that, you don't really get to examine him medically in your facility before you sign him. He's not like a guy you sign in the 5th week of free agency where you get to bring him into the building and thoroughly examine him.
Physicals.
So maybe the Bengals knew that, okay, his Achilles is wearing down. Maybe who the hell really knows? But I don't see how the Jets could have known that information.
Yeah. May, in terms of people talking about Bless Austin, we'll talk about Bless Austin. I can just take a bow, Kyle, for the Bless Austin stuff. I wanted to predict him not on the roster so bad. I just really didn't think they would do it, but there's a reason that I've been trashing that guy for 2 years, and now we see why. So I hope he gets his massive contract and be one of the top corners in the league for another team. Apparently,
it's weird. Like, if they really thought that they were going to cut him, I'm like, why did they start him like all year with the one, or not all training?
They rotated guys. So Dunn got some reps, Eccles got some reps, Austin got some reps. They probably were seeing him get some reps, and they looked at his reps and said, "Oh shit,"
It is curious though that Dunn played so bad and they still kept him.
My thing is with Dunn. So, and we talked about this on our Ross prediction. I like what Dunn showed in college. We both did. We were both impressed with what he did at Oregon State. So practice squad, I think, is the best spot for him. But with the Jets giving him the biggest guaranteed cornerback contract that they ever given, or whatever the NFL has ever given in UDFA, that they want to risk him being signed to another active roster. So if you're talking about Dunn as a 7th versus Blitz Austin, I'm taking Dunn there, and you just let him develop, and maybe he sees. He's going to see less than 50 snaps this year if he plays like he did. So it's not like he's going to be playing a lot, So, we'll talk about May and I guess all that stuff in a little bit. Corey, are you happy that Bless is gone? Yes. Again, if you have Twitter, or I'll put it up here, or just go watch the other shows, type in quotes, at Joe RB, or no, just at Joe RB31, Bless thread, or just go to my Twitter and I put up probably 50 plays of him last year, and I'm gonna say about 45 of them are terrible. So,
yeah. Hey, Mike said something interesting. I think they started him, meaning Bless Austin, to build up his trade value. Mike, that very well might be true, and I think that was part of the reason why Gardner Minshew had a quarterback competition with the number 1 overall pick and Trevor Lawrence, which was, if that is part of the reason why they did it, I think it's a dumb move, because really, what did you think you were going to get for Bless Austin in the first place? And it just takes away reps from younger guys who reps are so valuable for those young guys. I don't think that that's a smart move if that's what, in fact, they were trying to do.
Gitmo Bob, we're going to talk about the guys the Jets are working out. Drop other names in there, because I only know of Reuben Foster, John Hassel, talking about the blood clotting disorder related to the vaccination. I have no idea. And then somebody, I think Praj mentioned that coaches are taking into account the 53-man roster, like the guys on the bottom, like 50 versus 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, vaccination status.
Yeah.
I think it's 100% true. 1,000% true.
Yeah,
I would say it's 1,000% true.
I would say it's a very minor part of the equation. Just like, obviously talent is what's going to matter most in football. If you're not talented, you're not going to play as much. You're not going to get paid as much. It's just how things work. But things like character and stuff also play a role. Vaccination status would probably have to be much. But if you see two guys basically being as identical players pretty much, then you might go with one guy who's vaccinated versus not. Because, and the big reason is because, the NFL is really harsh with the penalty. I don't know if we actually talked about this on a previous stream, but, there's no rescheduling of games if there's a COVID outbreak, and if the game is canceled, no players are getting their game checks.
Yeah.
You want to talk about being harsh? Like, they're really trying to,
So you're talking about the guy we signed
with the iron
from,
fist.
You're talking about the guy, like, we'll get to, I forget what his name is, but like the guy from the DN from the Niners we just signed. Like, let's say if it's him versus Hamilcar Rashid, and they wanted Hamilcar, but they're like, oh, he's not vaccinated and this guy is. It 1,000% plays into it. It does. They're never going to say it does. Obviously. Somebody talking about, I think Praj mentioned before something about the Jaguars and them sucking. There's a reason, and I cannot wait, because I was tweeting about it. I do not think the Jags and Urban Meyer are going to work out, and I think he's going to screw up their whole situation. And then Jags fans were all in my mentions, and don't worry, I'm going to find that tweet. And then once he destroys that franchise, continually destroys that franchise, I'm going to message them all back. Just wait. But yeah, they've already had like coaches that had to fire and a bunch of stuff talking about. He thinks he's in college, so he thinks he can like control the roster and control the players. It's not going to work out. He's not going to work out. I can almost guarantee it.
Yeah, it's very different. It's very, very different when you got players that are making more money than you. When you got players that are making more money than you can't treat them the same as you can treat some scholarship athlete. It's very different.
Rusty said he would like to take Hollister, the tight end, away from Buffalo. I would like to sign him too. There's a couple of guys who I would like to have signed, but I don't think they are like trading for like a Will Dissly people are talking about, which I would have been okay with. But Kyle, moving on. Again, we have a lot to talk about. Studs and duds of the preseason. I threw that in there. I didn't really throw the topics tonight. We usually just go kind of off the cuff, but off the top of your heads, I'll go first, and you can say if you disagree or if you agree with me. I'm going to say the top 5, and I didn't really it's not like I sorted this out. I would say Wilson was the number one stud of the preseason in terms of like what he proved to us. I would say that Tanzel Smart, I didn't watch the third game, but I think Tanzel Smart probably earned himself a job, at least in the practice squad. And in terms of his play every single game being pretty consistent, I thought it was pretty good. So I gave him 2. My third one, my third one, which we were going to like scoff at, Matt Amendola earned himself a kicking job this preseason, in my opinion. So he was a stud. Good job for him. And then I had Guidry and Carter.
Did he miss any kicks in games? No, right?
No, he was, he made all the extra points. He made the 54-yarder. He made the 40-plus yarder. He made a couple 30-yarders.
He was at the green and white, which, wasn't on national TV. There's a ton of kicks, like even like in warm-up kicks and stuff. Not only was he making more percentage-wise, just the amount of, power he put into his kicks was not even comparable to Nugar.
Hollister signing with the Jags. I don't like that. I want the Jets to do something else. I'd rather have Hollister or Disley or one of these guys instead of Daniel Brown, but it is what it is. And then I had Corey Davis as my 4th. And then, Guidry and Carter, like both the slot guys, both played really well. And now they're talking about maybe starting Guidry outside, which I think Carter would actually fit better outside. But it's going to be the top 4 guys. I think it's going to be a pretty heavy rotation of Guidry, Carter, Hall, and Eccles. I think it's going to make our top 4 guys, which, they're going to struggle. But again, if you're going to struggle in any place, it's the defense. I'm okay with you getting, letting the youth struggle there a little bit more. Obviously, the offense we'll talk about in a little bit as well. Kyle, do you have any of those studs to throw in there? Do you disagree with any of those guys before?
Steven said a good one. He said Corey Davis.
I said Corey Davis. I said it was my 4th.
Okay. Then I was not
paying
attention.
That Wi-Fi in Pennsylvania.
I think it's me. I'm so bad at multitasking. Sometimes when I look at the chat, I don't hear you. 100%.
Oh, so you'd be completely screwed running it.
No. Hey, listen, the guys in the chat, do I hold my own when he goes to the bathroom? Even though he comes back really
You don't
quick.
run. You don't have to run all the stuff on the background.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
I've done it before. Hey,
you're rusty, dude. It's been years. It's, it
has.
Do you have any other studs to add?
But it's kind of like lifting, though. You got muscle memory, like I got the computer skill muscle memory. Other studs from the preseason that stood out off the top of my head. Trying to think of like starters and stuff, but they didn't even play a lot most of the times.
I don't need you to reach for anybody.
Nothing's coming to mind right now, to be honest.
All right, duds. Any duds? I'll put you on the spot with duds. Anybody who really kind of shit the pot? It shit the pot it's shit or I'll get off the pot. Why did I say shit the pot? You're supposed to shit in the pot.
Isaiah Dunn he's the biggest one. Like we hyped him up a lot, and he was pretty bad. He was pretty disappointing. I mean, listen, it's to be expected. He's a relatively unathletic cornerback who wasn't drafted, who's a rookie in training camp. He's only going to get better. Question is how long will the Jets want to stick with him until he gets to the point where he could be, some kind of player, but he was really disappointing, to be honest.
Yeah. Eagles saying something about you're Robin. I'm Nightwing. I don't know who Nightwing. I know who that is, but I don't know. Okay. Mike saying you're doing a good job. What's up, Mike? Steven Angle, my guy from Monmouth County. We're not naming everybody who played well, but yeah, Ty Johnson. He played well. I'm not gonna call him a stud. Cheyenne Musad Ahmed. Said love both you fellas killing it. Sorry if I'm screwing up your name. I apologize. Love it, Mike LaFleur. Yeah. Okay. So duds. You're right with Dunn. I had the pass rush overall, to be completely honest, especially from the DNs. Once Carl Lawson went down, you wanted to see some of those guys step up. They really didn't. The run defense was pretty bad too. So the kind of the defensive front was not overly impressive. Herndon had 1 catch. He got traded for, which we'll talk about in a little bit, a 4th-round pick. And then James Morgan's another guy too, who you'd think if he came out and played okay, maybe he'd earn himself a shot or a spot on the 53 or maybe over Mike White, but he just looked like trash minus a couple of plays towards the end of the Eagles game.
There was shades of Hackenberg to his game, to be honest. I mean, it's not that bad. Hackenberg's in his own stratosphere, but at times you watched him and you're like, this is a little reminiscent of Hackenberg. Like, you want to talk about being otherworldly inaccurate. That was James Morgan at times.
He had, and this is not, I'm not getting into all the Fields thing again. Fields is much more accurate, but he had some problem with the power control. Like they just whip every single ball and just throw it over some guys' heads. I'm like, you gotta learn how to that variety of velocity, like Saber likes to say.
Which Zach Wilson is very good at.
Chris asked, how is Isaiah done on this team? Go watch the review and you'll know why. His college film and what he put out there was a lot better technically than when he was in the NFL. And once you get to the NFL, stuff gets sped up a little bit. And once you get sped up a little bit, you're thinking a little bit more and your technique takes a shit. So I think once he sees the NFL a little bit more and he kind of hones it all in and plays more under control, he'll be a lot better than he is. He's not that bad of a player. He struggled though.
And even though Bless Austin is bigger and faster than Dunn, you'd think that Bless Austin has a higher ceiling, higher upside. He doesn't.
No,
he doesn't.
He's not.
Bless Austin has played for 3 years in the league. You know, if he were going to be good, we would have already seen it by now. I know there are some rare cases where it takes a player like 5-6 years, like the Mario Davis, but by year like 3, you should really start to see what a player is. So yeah. Bless Austin has way too much time and he's still here.
Rusty, I agree with you about Josh Adams. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Steven Engel, who's a tight end Raider, I heard about. I've heard him too.
Who?
It's like Raider, whatever. It's like Rader. I think that's how you spell it. People have been talking about it. I'm not 100% sure, Steven. If he's a big enough name, obviously, you'll get a reviewer. I'll talk about him, whatever. But yeah, Hackenberg. I remember being at some practices, and I definitely didn't know as much as I do now, like in studying and stuff. And I remember just being there and be like, dude, this guy is missing like 10-yard passes we'd throw in the parking lot before a game and dirting them. I'm like, this is not going to be good. And obviously he was not good at all. Yeah. So
I remember I went to some practices when it was his sophomore year, and like everything about Hackenberg was bad. I mean, like he got hit a lot in college. So when he got hit a lot in not his freshman year was probably his best year. His mechanics went to shit. So his footwork got all clunky and stuff. You could see his second training camp that he was so concerned. Like, instead of like thinking about what coverage the defense is in and reading guys, he was putting so much thought into just having his footwork be right that everything was coming out slow. And like his footwork looked better than what it did in his rookie year, but everything with him was slow and he still wasn't accurate. It was bad.
Yeah. Liam asked the biggest hole in this team. There's obviously quite a few. Talking about for this year, next year, it's different. Corner, tight end, backup, or depth, offensive line, backup quarterback. But number one I would want to address right now is definitely offensive line, but obviously it's a lesser of a need in terms of the long-term build than corner is. But for Zach Wilson's sake, I want somebody else back there, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Some of these people are talking about Morgan versus Hackenberg. Hackenberg's obviously the much bigger bust than Morgan, just based on where they were drafted.
Yeah. And dude, there were some people thinking like Hackenberg had some stands out there. Brett Coleman is the biggest one that I can think of. But Brett Coleman put out a really detailed video saying that he's one of my favorite players in the whole draft. He should be a first-round pick. Bill O'Brien, his former head coach, should definitely take him. I mean, there were some people that looked at Hackenberg's freshman tape. He was a highly recruited player out of high school. He was a film junkie. I mean, no one could question the kid's work ethic and things like that.
Yep. So
there were some people who thought he was going to be really good. I mean, James Morgan was a guy who had to, send his tape to coaches and say, please give me a shot to play on your team. So there's no question who's the bigger bust.
Hold on, Kyle, because we have some Bless Austin stuff in here. I'm just gonna go to my Twitter real quick just to show some people some stuff. Jeremy, I appreciate you. He said, officially the king, the cut of Bless Austin, the final piece of evidence. I need to say it. I appreciate you, Jeremy. But this is why I tell people to speak their mind, because like you have a lot of people like out there, and like again, I'm not sure who I'm talking about, but there are people out there who I'm sure would say Bless Austin's a decent starter. He's okay. He's not great, but as a number 2, he might be fine. And then this shit happens, and people are like, okay, well, why'd you tell me he was okay? Obviously very false, but people want Bryce Petty too. Kyle, anything else to say about Bless Austin? I guess until I'm gonna just pull up this thread real quick and just go through. I'm not gonna break down the plays like I would in a review, but I just want to kind of just run them while we're
pull it up right now while I say any final things about him. I mean, it would just for any of the Bless Austin stands out there, and I mean. So I was talking with Nania when we went to the green and white, and Nania was telling me that there were some fans at the practice that were coming up to Bless Austin saying, Bless, we love you, Bless, we love you. And it's like, what are you guys watching? Like the only thing I think of is because he's from Rutgers, which is in the area. So you have people that are Rutgers fans, maybe even students at Rutgers that just, naturally like him for that reason. Yeah. Go through this thread, guys. Joe, why don't you retweet the first tweet in the thread?
I did.
So
I did.
Okay.
But dude, it's like, it's play after play where he gets beat. He's beat right there. This one's actually a good play.
And then, dude, if you asked a Bless Stan, like, tell me one play where you saw like really good ability from Bless.
Right here in the bottom.
And I would think they'd be really hard pressed to do that.
Yep.
There might have been like one play from the Raiders game his rookie year where he showed something.
Dude, his alignment, him opening up like immediately like this, like 3rd and 2, his leverage, or I think it was 3rd and 2. He's just bad. He's just really bad. Missed tackle. This is for the people. Oh, he's such a good tackler and all this stuff. He's really not. He made some hard hits sometimes, but in terms of his missed tackle percentage, it was way up there because he did a lot of this shit. He did a lot of diving at guys' legs and not wrapping up. He did it all the time. Here, I'm sure he's gonna get beat again. Why? He's looking back at the quarterback before he has contact. Let's see this next one. Probably another bad one right here. He's gonna get beat, but the QB misses the throw. Off coverage. Let's see. Misses the tackle. Opens his hips early right here. Misses the tackle. First down. Okay, let's go to the next one. Beat yet again. And I'm not being biased on any of this, Kyle. You know this. I put up what I see, and he got roasted all year. And he got roasted his rookie year, and there's a reason he was benched. And people, for some reason, just because he was a starter, said, "Oh, he's an okay starter." Okay, next play, right on the bottom, beat again. Like he was roasted all year. Defensive pass interference. Next one, another missed tackle. Next one, curl flat zone, and then he gets, I guess, beat for a touchdown. I'm not sure if he gets beat for a touchdown right here, does he? Yep, beat for a touchdown right there because he jumps on the flat. But whoever that is, I think it's actually what's his name? Falls. Man coverage. Something.
This is one of my favorite plays.
For who?
The Singletary one.
Oh yeah, that's a terrible one. This one right here, beat for a touchdown, or at least could have been beat for a touchdown. I'm not sure if he actually was. Yeah, beat for a touchdown right there. Next one, like, dude, we're only the Chiefs game of last year, people. I'm not trying to be a dick. That there were some positive plays in the Bills game, but do you see what I'm saying? And that's why when people are, oh, he's okay, that's when I automatically am going to harshly judge you. It's just, what are you watching? You're not watching. So moving on, I'm not meaning to get my soapbox with that, but I'm trying to prove a point that this is why you got to watch that shit. At least, and if you don't, you can watch it yourself. If you don't know what you're watching, then I hope you check out my stuff. That's what I'm here for. But moving on, the chat's probably roasting. I don't know if they're roasting me or roasting Blitz. I'm gonna check it now. But that was just play after play of him getting beat badly. Not even close, like Bryce Hall getting beat by Keenan Allen, Devontae Parker, Mike Williams type guy where his hand was in there and they just made a really nice catch. Like he was getting beat by yards on 3rd and 2 on a hitch route. How do you get beat by yards on 3rd and 2 on a hitch route in man coverage? How does that happen? So really, really bad. Kyle, we'll move on and let's.
Yeah. And by the way, going to what we said, so that's an argument right there. Something I talk about a lot on this show. So that douche that we had in the chat, who wasn't even a Jets fan, who was staying on for like a 2 a.m. stream, talking all this shit about the pass rusher that the Bengals signed, saying that we should have signed him, blah, 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 blah. He was never making any actual arguments. That's an argument right there that Joe made. He said Bless Austin sucked, but you can't just say someone sucks. You back it up. There's a whole thread showing you bad. Now, the challenge for any of the Bless Austin people is, where did you see good on his film? And you'd be hard pressed to find it.
Because at one out of every 4 tackles, he would blow up a guy, and then people watch broadcasting and say, "Oh, good play," because you can remember tackles pretty easily. Someone's mentioned on another podcast that they brought up that he's an average number 2 starter. Okay, but that's whatever. Yeah, I'm not trying to talk shit about any other streams who said that, but that is what it is. I'm just trying to show my point of how freaking bad he was. He was terrible. Kyle, next thing before we get to like the 53-man roster, all this other stuff, and like some of the intricacies of it. Herndon,
dude,
a guy that we could have, like, in our prediction been like, is he going to make it? Like I think we probably would have pressed each other a little bit if we said he's not going to make it. But if you said that last week or 2 weeks ago, where I thought you're completely crazy, I wouldn't have. So now you turn Chris Herndon and a 6th round pick into a 4th round pick, which to me is like premium capital. Like obviously the first round's like the premium, but like top 4 rounds is what I consider like that premium. You know, we're like 5th, 6th, 7th, or whatever.
Dude,
but
Randy Moss was traded for a 4th round pick.
Yeah.
When he was still Randy Moss. So I mean, like, not the big difference is Herndon's still on a rookie contract, so it's easy for a team to make the trade and still work it in with their books. So I get that aspect of it. I'm not trying to act like it's, you know, an exact comparison, but dude, a 4th and a 6th, like what?
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
no, they didn't get a 4th and a 6th.
I thought it was a 4th and a 6th.
They traded Herndon and a 6th for a 4th.
Oh, okay. Then I feel like someone
That's
must
still a
have
good trade.
Yeah, sure.
So, but dude, like, so now the Jets have 2 1s, 2 2s, a 3rd, 2 4ths, 2 5ths, and 2 6ths, and they're number 1 in cap space next year. So we're talking about, oh, the Jets suck and all this stuff. Look at where their roster is now. Where we think they can I think even the most pessimistic fan is going to say they're going to win 5, 6 games. I'm more to that 7, 8 range, 6 to 8, but.
I wonder if we'll be number 1 in cap after, because I don't feel like we're going to make any major cuts next year to get more cap. Whereas other teams,
well, Tremaine Johnson comes off the books, which is a couple $1 million.
Okay.
Other than that, I'm trying to think like who, if anything, you probably sign Quincy Williams. That probably drops down. Like, yeah, it's going to drop down, but still, let's say you're even top 10 in cap space, some of the highest premium in terms of capital in the draft, and you're talking about the youngest roster in the NFL, number 1. So you're looking at a young ass roster with a ton of space, with what we think is a good direction under Joe Douglas, which we have some qualms with him, which we'll bring up, I'm sure. But you have to be positive with where they're going. So I was gonna bring up some of the cuts and stuff, but as we go through the roster, I guess we'll kind of just talk about it organically. Phillips went to the PUP, which is basically just that list. I think it's like 2 people you could bring back at any time. So he's in the PUP, which is good to see. I wanted Phillips to make this team because Phillips is like in terms of our DNs right now, he's probably what our 3rd best DN, you'd say, if he's on the team, right? Lawson, you have Lawson, JFM. You don't count him as a DN. So let's say it's Shaq Lawson and Huff. Who's better than Phillips as your 3?
Huff definitely gives you more in the pass rush department than Phillips does.
Well, that's why I said 3.
Phillips will give you more in run support.
Okay. So a valuable asset, you would say? No.
Yeah, he's a fine player.
Talk about the IR. We did that. Austin Cut already hit on that again. Just there's literally like 50 plays out there, and then all the other stuff. Youngest team in the NFL brought that up. These guys. We'll talk about these guys real quick. I guess we signed Quincy Williams. Any thoughts on Quincy Williams?
I haven't watched any of his film.
I just know,
I've seen him a couple plays here or there when the Jets played him, but I couldn't tell you much about him.
Yeah, people. We don't have 6 first. People say
Indy. Therefore, in Indy, I'm not shitting on him.
A lot of people talking about us having 3 4th round picks, not on here, but in Twitter. We traded one of those 4th round picks for Jamal Adams, so you only have 2 4th round picks. Crowder and Fant could be gone. Yeah, that's true. We'll see what they do, Brian.
Well, this is Crowder's last year on his deal, but this Fant will have another year. But they could cut him because it's not like guaranteed money.
There's no debt, but they're going to sign either one of Fant or Moses to be the tackle for another 2 years. I think next year they're going to go through free agency. They're going to try to hit big on another guard, or at least like solid another guard. Like they're going to spend a couple $1 million on a guard.
Do you know the names out there?
No, I have no idea. But just off of Joe Douglas, I would think that if there's a good guard out there, let's say a guy who's in that $7 to $10 million range is a good guard in the NFL. I think they try to sign him. If not, they're drafting a guard in the first 2 rounds, and then you let Fant or Moses or both be the swing tackle again next year. But that position is not done. So let's see. Okay. Yeah, Quincy Williams, the only thing I know, hard hitter, Quinn Williams' brother, misses a shit ton of tackles, apparently, based on the numbers that Nania put out. Yeah, I know he misses a lot of tackles, but if he's like a will run and chase backer right now, Kyle, we're talking about the linebackers on the team, and there's some other guys I would have liked to bring out there. I know like KJ Wright, I think just maybe sign with somebody, but KJ Wright.
Raiders, I heard, yeah.
Would have loved to sign him. Bernard McKinney, like as a guy as a backup, or maybe
he's a
starter.
thumper. He's a thumper.
Like put him at Sam, like I would like him there. So Quincy Williams is not my highest priority. Again, KJ Wright, maybe even like Quan Alexander, if he was coming back healthy, or one of these guys, I would have liked to see more, but it is what it is. I'm not overly hyped on it, but it is what it is. I don't think they probably do they sign him if Quinn Williams isn't his brother? I'm not sure, which I don't necessarily love. And then Sheldrick Redwine, they signed from the Browns. He's a 4th-round pick in 2020. He played a lot. I think his first year, second year, he was more relegated to the bench because they brought in like Sendejo and Carl Joseph, I believe, are their safeties. And they also had Grant Delpit, right? I don't know if he was a backup or if he was healthy last year. But good special teams guy. Again, another guy who I think is a versatile guy, plays high end in the box. Good. I think he's a big hitter, but misses a lot of tackles. And the only other guy we signed or claimed was Tom Ward, who out of those guys I'm reading, again, I want to look at for myself, but based on what Nani put out there, because it's quick hitters and you can rely on numbers for some stuff, or you can get kind of like a general perception of a guy. UDFA from the Chiefs in 2019, tore his ACL his rookie year. And then in one game last year, he had a sack and he had 3 sacks in his preseason. And apparently when he plays, he's a pretty high pressure rate. So a guy who's like 6'6", like 255, pretty wiry, defensive end. So based on his numbers, which we'll see how those pressures actually came when we actually watch him, but based on those, he looked like he's actually a good swing. So I think Tom Ward out of all those guys is probably my favorite swing.
I agree just based on that, but I can't say anything about much of their specific play, just not having watched them yet. MN is a super chat. MN super chats a lot. I don't, MN, I'm a guy who likes humor and stuff. I think the Tony Danza stuff is humor, but I'm not getting it, man. Does anyone understand
who is Tony Danza?
I forget. That name is very familiar. Hold on.
I've heard. But
he keeps saying about Tony Danza is talking about this Jets player, huh? Like,
who is that?
I don't think Tony Danza. He's a television personality, tap dancer, boxer, and teacher who starred on the TV series Taxi and Who's the Boss. Is Tony Danza a Jets fan? Or is this just all a joke? I'm not getting it. So
yeah, let's not listen to guys like Tony Danza or Michael Kay or Don LaGreca or any of those freaking idiots from WFAN. If you listen to them, I'm surprised you're going to listen to this because I don't know how you enjoy the same type of football talk because they're a bunch of assholes. To be completely honest, I hate that shit. I really do. But let's not listen to celebrities and stuff for our football.
MN said he sits next to him at Jets games. Is that true, MN? Really? You sit next to him?
Well, again, awesome. But what does he know? I sit next to my best friend Tom and my really good friend, my best friend Vinny, but they're a bunch of freaking idiots in terms of breaking down guys, So sorry, unless he's a film junkie, I just have no idea who Tony Danza is. I'm sorry. Let's see, Frankie.
Thanks for the super chat, MN.
What's up? Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to be like a dick about that, but I'm just saying who I don't know who that even is in terms of like film stuff. Rusty's talking about Singletary. A lot of people talking about Singletary, but a lot of people are also talking about what's his name, who just cut. I always forget his name. The corner from the Ohio State, Sean Wade. Oh, you got to pick Sean Wade. You got to get Sean Wade, and he dropped into like the 5th round. So let's pump the brakes on Singletary because he can easily drop to a guy who's the end of a 1st-round pick, and then we don't want him anymore. Where we're picking. So I'm not getting hyped up about Singletary or any of these guys yet. Frankie from Flatbush. I saw you here a couple of times. I haven't seen you recently though. So what's up? Glad you're back.
Hey, Rusty said he'd trade a 2nd or a 3rd for Crowder before the deadline. You're not getting a 2nd or a 3rd for Crowder, Rusty.
Not at his age with his contract because it's only a year. You're only trading for a year. It just wouldn't happen.
If a team, let's say a team who is a legit Super Bowl contender had a massive receiver injury, they might be willing to give up like a 4th or a 5th. You're not getting a 2nd or a 3rd. No way. That won't happen. Yeah. People talking about Tony, again. I know who he was when I Googled him, but I never watched that show again. I was born in 93. So some of that stuff I didn't necessarily watch. Somebody told me to chill. I don't look to my opinions for like Michael Kay. Like you're talking about a lot of like not talking about other podcasts, whatever. Like ask him even like the most simple thing, like what's a 3 technique? He'd be like, he wouldn't answer the question because he wouldn't know. He would deflect. Like just like, and that's the 3 technique. Like but people are like, let's tune into him and listen to his football's opinion. Like why? For what reason? Minus like baseball, maybe, but people who watch baseball always shit on him too. So like, who cares? I don't get it. Rich Eisen, yeah, I'm sorry. Like who? And listen, why? Listen, they're good at what they do. Like, listen, they got to cover a lot of different sports. They talk hockey, they talk baseball, they talk basketball. I mean, and they have a good idea of who's on what roster and what league and stuff. And I gotta be honest, like I couldn't tell you which NBA players are on which teams. I mean, the superstars I could tell you, but the only sport that I really follow closely at this point is football. So I understand that, not everyone can be really good at everything, but like if you're thinking Michael K is gospel or something.
Yeah, Gitmo was saying, how does anybody listen to WFN? WFN, ESPN radio, a lot of this stuff, they have no idea what they're talking about. So if you want to listen to people who have literally no idea what they're talking about, then by all means, if that's just to fill your kind of your drive.
Thing is this, they're very good speakers, and that's why they're on the radio, and they project confidence. So when you speak confidence and you're charismatic, people naturally believe you more. I mean, and I study history. There've been so many world leaders who are very charismatic, who can get up in front of people and give a speech, but they don't know how to run a country, right? And they've had some of the worst ideas and led to genocides and things like that. I mean, come on.
No, so people are getting me kind of misconstrued here. MN says, Mr. Danza said he will call you if you have a call-in show he watches. If he does, great. I don't really know. Sorry, Tony, if you watch. I think you'd probably admit you don't really know what you're talking about in terms of a ton of film stuff. Maybe you do. Maybe you have good opinions, but
that'd be pretty cool to get Tony Danza on.
Hey, it's so they're calling back, hey man, this is Tony Danza. I don't know his voice. So no offense, but I was born in 93, so I don't know. Mike Francesco joke. I'm not hating on Rich Eisen. I'm just saying in terms of actually listening to him, like if he was to break down a play, what is he gonna do? Like I like him as a Jets fan.
He's entertaining.
He's
Rich
good.
Eisen is entertaining.
He is good. That's one guy who I get listening to. But if you're gonna take his voice for gospel and say, and he's probably one of is he one of those guys out here saying, bless Austin, why are they cutting him? I saw people on Twitter not calling out any names. Oh, the Jets are probably gonna lose a game now because of bless Austin. Like now their win totals are gonna go down a game. Like what?
Oh yeah.
I'm not saying names. I try to even be more bland.
I saw that too, and I almost quote tweeted him, and then a lot of people like him though, so I would have got shit on if I quote tweeted him.
Yeah, okay, whatever. Pat Kerwin, Stephen Engel saying yes, he's good because he actually was in an NFL organization, knows how football works. He actually wrote. When people ask me like, "Oh, starting into film, like what's the first book I should read?" I always recommend Pat Kerwin, Take Your Eye Off the Ball. I think it's like very baseline stuff, but he knows what he's talking about. He was an NFL. He's in the NFL. Whatever. Joe and Evans, the last.
By the way, I mean that's just the title of that book right there. If you're a person in here that's relatively new to kind of really studying the broader scope of football, that's a good rule. Like when you're watching the game, don't just watch the football all the time. Like watch what's going on in the secondary. I mean, broadcast angle is a little difficult. Watch the D line and who's, making the pass rush moves and stuff. Don't just focus on the quarterback and when he throws the ball and who's catching it. You will see a lot more when you do take your eye off the ball, as the title of that book is. So,
Jordan Victor,
good rule of thumb.
Been here a lot. You don't need to be an expert to do a basic eye test on a player. No, but there's also a lot of people out there. I would say over 50% of Twitter, probably even higher than 50% of Twitter, who have that basic eye test and said Bless Austin should be the starter and is decent. So what does that tell you? Maybe not. Like it is what it is. So
no, MN, you can bring up Tony Danza again. That's fine. I just I honestly thought you were just joking. Tony Danza, like, huh?
One, and then I don't know who he is. Like I didn't know who he was until I Googled him. I'm not familiar. And if he's a Jets fan, you sit with him, awesome. I'm just saying in terms of taking bigger names, people's stuff for gospel, unless they've proven to you that they know what they're talking about, then it is what it is. It's like you can listen and kind of take it into account, but like as gospel, just don't do it. That's all I recommend. Kyle, one thing I want to talk about.
Thanks for another super chat, MN.
Yeah, MN. Hey, we can keep talking about Tony Danza if you want, or not, and then you'll bring it whatever. No, I didn't mean to be whatever. I don't like when you hear people like, oh, Michael K said this. Like, who gives a shit what Michael K says? Like, why do you care? But the only
honestly though, if he's a big time celebrity like Danza, I mean, like, what is he, like an A-list celebrity? I don't really know. I mean, he's a little bit before our time, but it is kind of like you have to figure like he doesn't have his own Jets podcast or whatever, so it is kind of somewhat interesting to know what his inside thoughts are. I guess. So.
Yeah. Go NY said I should watch an episode of one of his things. Maybe I'll watch it. If Tony Danza calls in, I'll watch a whole season of his stuff. I don't, if it's actually him. No, I need him to video it. I can't, because somebody will do his voice. CD2K. It's funny how many people can break film down, but their bias is getting away when it comes to make a decision. Okay, so people are loving Tony in here. Tony word is gospel. Sorry, I guess a lot of Jets fans like Tony Danza. The one thing I will criticize, so just talking about the offensive side of the ball, Kyle, so far throughout the season and even through waiver claims and stuff, I am not overly thrilled with, why are you smiling? But I'm not overly thrilled with JD's lack of moves at tight end with some of the guys out there we were talking about. We mentioned them before, Hollister and et cetera. The fact that Daniel Brown's back in this roster, I know he's a good blocker, not thrilled with that. Backup quarterback, not thrilled. Interior offensive line. Did they even bring David Moore to the practice squad? I don't think so. So they claimed him, and then he's not on the practice squad at this moment. So right now, your backup interior offensive linemen are one, Dan Feeney, and that's it. So tight end, not thrilled. Backup quarterback, not thrilled. Interior offensive line, not thrilled. Again, we're talking about linebacker. We're talking about corner, where there's a move or two I would have liked to see them do, like bring in like a, Nicholas Morrow or KJ Wright, or even now with like, a Quan Alexander or whoever else I brought up before, or at corner have gotten this guy. Sure. But this year I get playing the young players. With the offense, I want to give Zach Wilson as good of a chance as he possibly can have to succeed. Part of that is having a tight end you can rely on, even past Croft. He gets injured, so you have to consider that. The depth at offensive line, not great, and backup quarterback is not great. So I will criticize him for those three lack of moves in terms of throughout the offseason and throughout waivers. So I think it's fair to say.
It'd be kind of hard to quantify this. Nani would probably be able to give us a pretty quality answer, but I'm curious to see what your off the top of your head type of thinking is on this. What would you say is the most injured position group in the NFL? I would guess that it's offensive line. And I know that offensive line, there's guards, there's centers, there's tackles. So it's not all exactly the same. And yes, that is 5 positions, but I think offensive line gets banged up. You can maybe argue running back, but running backs are certainly more replaceable than an offensive lineman. Other than maybe running back, I would say offensive line is the most banged up upon, because not only are they, getting contacted by 300-pound guys every play, but they also get rolled up on a lot.
Oh yeah. Like
was that
the game?
McDermott, right?
But was that the play I broke down last game where I was saying,
where Fant
pulled his leg away? I'm like, good job noticing that, because that shit is how people get injured all the time.
Yeah. That's a little savvy veteran move right there. That was nice, because shit, man, that could have ended his season.
We brought up Bless Austin. I completely roasted the guy. There's like 4 or 5 chats. We bring up Tony Danza, and everybody's in the chat. He sucks. He's good. He's a C-level actor. He's not even at the Fonzie's level. Like, people are going crazy. I didn't know this was a whole thing between Jets fans, but I gotta dip my toe in the water apparently. But Jets mess. What's up? Yeah, offensive line. Celebrated culture is ridiculous. Joe is right on point. Yeah, John, I appreciate that. It is. It's just because, like, again, John, you can know much more about football than Michael Kay or whoever else, but just because he has 50,000 people listening to his radio show means he knows more than me, which I think is complete bullshit.
That's the beautiful thing about the internet nowadays, because imagine
a lot
how
of those
much
shows are going like this, and that's why.
Well, imagine how much more influence those guys had when our dads were our age, right? Like, our dads would listen to the radio and take those guys' words for gospel. Like, oh, this guy must really know what he's talking about or whatever. He does this for a living.
So if you're saying if people still do, they're stuck in 30 years ago. But
now, I mean, there was no access to coaches film nowadays. You could, I guess, tape a game on VHS and rewatch it that way. And I'm sure some people did, but if you're a casual fan, the only way you could even rewatch a game was by retaping it, or if it was on a rerun on like ESPN Classic or whatever. So, I mean, like,
I don't think any of the Jets
it is true.
ESPN
I mean,
Classics.
there's a lot of dumbasses on Twitter and stuff nowadays and stuff, but we have to be honest. Fans are a lot more smarter nowadays than they were many years ago.
100%. And especially the 162 people in here, I will say, 100%. So a lot of chat going on again. I'm sorry if I missed anything, but So did you talk about tight end, quarterback, and interior offense? We talk about interior offensive line again. It's something
that's a concern, just based on the fact that offensive linemen are always getting hurt. So you're constantly
and for multiple
having
games
to
too.
shift,
So
you're constantly have to shift your rotation stuff. So that is a legit concern with the interior offensive line depth. Tight end, my thinking is that is a concern. I don't see Herndon as a big loss. Ryan Griffin, I don't think he really gives you much. I mean, like, I think he's a relatively smart player, but I don't think he's really particularly good at anything. Wesco seems to be playing more fullback than tight end at this point. So you need something, but for the people out there who obviously see a legitimate need in more tight end depth, and especially given Croft's injury history,
exactly,
you don't want to force yourself in a position where you become desperate and you do something dumb. Like, we were desperate when we signed Khalil a couple of years ago, and that was a massive waste of money signing Khalil.
Yeah.
You agree with me?
Well, yeah,
so you don't want to force a trade for a tight end, especially being that you just got, but yes, should Joe Douglas be exploring other trade options and potentially bringing in someone else? Yes. Question is, I don't really know who's going to be that guy.
Rusty, I'm not addressing that comment, but yeah, tight end. People are getting vicious in the chat right now. I love it. It's hilarious. But Steven Engel saying you eyeball me against some of the copying. I don't get whatever. He always says I love Steven, but Stefan. Yeah. Interior offensive line one, which I'll go kind of go back to, is Feeney was so overrated by fans because of the whole beer drinking thing at the Islanders game. But then people saw him make a couple bad plays in the Giants game, where now he's become underrated. And that's like people are like, oh my,
really swinging back and forth.
That's what it does. There's no middle. Dan Feeney, and people are like when the 53-man roster protection, again, people out there, I can't believe he made the team. You rather have Corey Levin or Jimmy Murray on the team over Dan Feeney, who's seen 50 starts. And listen, he's not good at all. Do you want him starting any games? Absolutely not. Is he an amazing backup? Not even that. He's an okay backup. But to think he shouldn't make the team it swung way too far because of a couple bad games or in the preseason. And I think his last two games, or at least in the Packers game, he allowed like one pressure, and he didn't even do that bad. So don't.
You could do a lot worse. Joe, at guard, and I know Alex Lewis was a legit starter for a couple of years on this team as a left guard. And I know so Feeney's not starting like Alex Lewis was. Would you say that Feeney is better than Alex Lewis? Because I would.
I think they're pretty similar, like, in terms of their level of play. But Ahmed said Feeney, great lad, but shouldn't be on the roster. It's just not true. That's I completely disagree.
I think Feeney's a little tougher. I think he plays a little smarter, and I think he's got more athletic upside too.
The problem is with, again, and it's especially in exciting times when a lot of people are on Twitter, it's a group thing. So people see him make a bad play and everybody tweets about it. And now that's the opinion, and it's hard to break off of that opinion. So yes, he made a couple of bad plays, but think he should not be a backup? False. It's just false. He's a decent backup. But if he was our penciled in starter for the entire season, you guys should be really concerned. He'd be the worst starting center or guard in the league, but that's not as bad as, like, we had Josh Andrews of the world, the Corey Levins, the freaking Jonathan Harrisons. Like, we've had bad backups. Like, he's okay.
Josh Andrews is another level of bad I can't even possibly describe in a couple of minutes on here. He was awful.
But moving on from that, and I'm not even just talking about Feeney. I'm talking about, okay, so now GBR goes down, right? Now Feeney's your right guard. There's not going to be another injury for the rest of the year. So now you have no depth offensive linemen. So concerned about that. Don't love that we haven't claimed anybody. Quarterback, again, I know Josh Johnson's on the practice squad.
By the way, I mean, we both thought Bless Austin was going to make the roster just based on how the coaches were talking about him and how much he played. But you shat on me so much when I had all those corners making it on my 53-man roster prediction. And when I cut more offensive linemen than you had. And
now they have 8 offensive linemen, and we're both agreeing that they should have 9.
I'm just saying, like, I was kind of thinking, but it's not, but the 53-man roster prediction is not what I would do. It's what I think is going to happen.
So Ahmed said, okay, fair. I hate our interior offensive line depth, to be honest. Yeah, so do I. I agree. But again, just don't go into groupthink because you saw a couple of bad plays in a preseason game. Feeney is an okay backup. That just, it is what it is. Maybe he's a little bit overpaid at 3.5, whatever it is. Sure. But moving on from that.
And truthfully, I don't even think he's overpaid as a backup because he's got versatility as he can jump in for a center. And when you want to talk about dude, if you're comparing Feeney as an interior offensive lineman backup versus Josh Andrews, I am telling you, as a backup, there is a significant gap. And when you're talking about backup interior offensive linemen, at some point in the season, they're going to have to come in, even if it's only for a partial part of a game. Think about how many times Mekhi Becton went out for parts of games last year. Like, when you're talking an interior, I know that contract is, it's a couple $1 million or whatever, but that is a value. It is valuable to have a quality backup. So I don't even think that he's overpaid as a backup, to be honest.
Okay, that's fair. But again, like people saying, okay, well, he's terrible. Like, okay, then who deserves to be on our roster? Like, David Moore, who just cut down in the practice squad, Corey Levin, Jim Murray, guys like Josh Andrews, like there are much worse backups than him. Trust me. Okay, sorry if I missed anything. I apologize, guys. It's just running with a lot of people in here, a lot of stuff to talk about. But quarterbacks, we discussed again. What I'd like to see: a Nick Mullins, a Brian Hoyer. I know Nick Mullins had a couple of bad passes in the Eagles game, but still, Nick Mullins, Brian Hoyer, Nick Foles for a late round pick. Even I'm just kind of naming names like RG3, like if he's been in the system before, guy who knows he's a backup. Like I wanted somebody like that. They didn't do it. I think that's a fail. I think the interior offensive line right now, unfortunately, you had Lewis go down. You had some.
Is RG3 still with the Ravens?
I think he's a broadcaster now. But so I'm not thrilled about that. And then people mentioned what the hell? I just completely blanked out. But nonetheless,
you were talking about backup quarterbacks.
Yeah, I still.
You were talking about how you wish they had signed someone like an RG3 and they kind of missed out. Missed out on Mullins.
I was going to transition to something, but I
Hoyer got caught by the Patriots, so is he available?
He got brought back. Oh, that's what somebody mentioned in the chat before. I forget exactly what it was. I apologize because I saw it as the chat was running. Should we see if Moses or Fant could play guard? Fant, I don't think can. I think Moses, if you signed him and initially they worked him right in at right guard right away. Do I think it had a chance of working out? Yes, I do. And I said that I think legitimately the best 5 starters on the Jets would be obviously, Becton, AVT, McGovern, Moses at right guard, and then Fant. But they're working at tackles, so you can't just tell them midseason, hey, okay, you're playing guard this game because GVR went down.
He's never done it before.
Backup, and they were going to flex, and that's a part of it too. With people don't talk about Fant. Moses, even if they were at the same level of play, I think Moses has that leg up on Fant because Fant can play backup right tackle and left tackle, where Moses never really played left tackle. So he has the flexibility as a backup, where it's kind of more important as a backup, where Moses he can play right tackle. I'm sure he could play maybe left tackle, but he never saw time. Moving on, tight end, you talked about it.
Brian said, can Adoga play guard in a pinch? Not a shot in hell.
No
chance.
He's not even strong enough for tackle. He cannot play guard. He cannot see a 330-pound Fadokasi type guy.
You want to talk about, it's kind of amazing that he's still on the roster, because you want to talk about a player who gives very low effort and he's soft. I'm honestly surprised he's
CD2K is saying New England has a solid offensive line and they're coached well and they play really well together. Yeah, continuity is important. Having Scarnecchia there for years is also very important. One of the best offensive line coaches of all time.
Yeah, thankfully he retired again though.
But you're talking about tight end, Kyle, and just in general, like I think Croft, when he plays, and what was it, 2016 when he was a tight end 1 for the Bengals, I think him as a tight end 1, if healthy, massive if with Croft, I think he's a lower tier number 1. But past him, again, West goes a fullback pretty much, and then you have Griffin and Brown. I'm not thrilled with that. So like again, people are talking about all these names out there, the Bills guy Hollister, and maybe trading for Disley or Hurst or whatever. I would be okay with trading like a 6th or 7th round pick for one of those guys. And people talk about Zach Ertz, and I don't think it's going to happen now. But people are like, oh, he's terrible. He's old. He's past his prime. He's not a long-term piece. But if you're talking about like a 5th or a 6th round pick for Ertz, who had like 350 yards last year, who was buried behind Goddard, who's like their number 1 tight end right now, he could probably be a 400 to 500 yard guy for the Jets, who knows how to run routes, who knows how to sit in a soft spot, who has good hands. So he's not a long-term piece for the Jets, but just for the sake of making Zach Wilson comfortable for year 1 and 2, maybe that Ertz is here, I'll be okay with trading out like a 6th round pick for a Zach Ertz and absorbing some of that contract. Because again, I'm not trading long-term pieces in terms of like 5th, 6th round picks for anything on defense, but offense, if you're talking about, let's say Griffin and Brown or why am I blanking on the other guy's name from the Texans? Croft and Griffin versus Croft and Ertz. I would take Ertz for a late round pick. I don't know about you.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. So what would you say? Okay. And I think I know your answer, and I have an answer to this. So Ertz is about my age now. He's going on. He's like 31 going on 32, something like that.
I think he's 31 on 31.
Okay. I think he just turned 31. Anyway, I looked at his age yesterday or whatever when I heard all these rumblings. Regardless, he's definitely in the latter stages of his career. He's been in the league since I think 2013 or something like that. So he's been playing for a while. When you get to be someone his age, in terms of skill set, what would you say goes first?
For who? Ertz?
Yeah.
For his skill set?
Yeah. Like what do you think would be an aspect of his game that would decline first?
His speed?
His speed and like his ability to separate.
Yeah, athleticism.
Exactly. So, you're not going to have that with him anymore. But the things that you highlighted a couple minutes ago, like his ability to settle down in zones, he's not going to lose much in terms of like he's got this. From what I've seen from him over the years, he's got really good hands and stuff as a tight end. He's got long arms and stuff, so he's going to be able to pluck out and catch balls. Like this guy can catch some touchdowns in the red zone and stuff because he's got some of those nuances to the games. He's got some things that someone like a Wesco doesn't have. Wesco doesn't have that ability that he knows where to settle down in zones, or that you're not going to throw Wesco a fade ball on the goal line. You'd feel comfortable, you start Ertz in like as a inline tight end,
like attached, then you motion him out, linebacker carries him.
You're not going to ever do that with Wesco, but you would do that with someone like Ertz and stuff. And okay, so Ertz is not going to be the dynamic weapon that he once was in his career, but you can still do those things with him at this point in his career, and that's good for a young rookie quarterback.
He's reliable, and that's more than you can say for anybody else on the roster. And again, if he had 400 yards this year, let's say with the Jets, that's more than we've had in how many years from tight ends, And again,
since Herndon's rookie year,
he's old and washed up. Yeah, maybe he's old and maybe he's washed up a little bit, but I think an old washed up Ertz is better than in terms of like consistency is better than Brown or Griffin as tight end too. Like maybe Croft sees him more time than him because he's a blocker, but
he's a way better receiving tight end than Griffin. And I'm saying way better than Griffin, Brown and Wesco.
But and the thing with that too is like the thing you got to realize situation too. The Eagles have a very, very good tight end in Goddard. So while Ertz is declining, Goddard is on the incline. So yeah, he's going to see less time. So you just type in stats. Oh yeah, he had 350 yards. But that's because a Goddard was there. So maybe Goddard wasn't there. He has 500-600 yards last year. So that's things you have to consider. So to trade him for a late round pick, I would be okay with it just for the sake of making Zach Wilson comfortable. That's just me.
I think it would have happened by now if it was going to happen.
Probably fifth tackle in terms of Adoga. They only have four. McDermott's on the IR, isn't he? So he's a fourth tackle right now, I believe.
McDermott's definitely on IR for sure.
CD2K fan at left tackle, kick Becton in the right guard if he keeps getting beat. No, do not do that. No.
Now Becton, see Becton he's the future of your franchise. You drafted him 11th overall. You saw so many high flashes of him last year. If he could develop, you're talking like, as Joe Blewett says in the intro to this show, if he develops his technique and things like this, he's got Hall of Fame level talent.
He does. And last year,
you don't fuck around with a Hall of Fame level talent and put him at guard. And I'll say this: the Cowboys last year, they took a Hall of Fame guard in Zach Martin, and they put him at tackle. Now I know, but here's a difference though. He played tackle in college, if I'm not mistaken. Becton has never played guard before. So that and
like, listen, quickly on that because we have to get to so much stuff. Becton played well. He played like a top 10 left tackle-ish, like in that, let's just say 8 to 12 range last year. I think that's a safe range for him. And he was getting abused, people said, in camp by Jordan Jenkins. So now we go to this camp, and he's getting beat by Carl Lawson, who is triple the edge rusher that he is. And there are plenty of players, if you Google it, I can't think of any names off the top of my head, who are not great practice players, but ball out in the game. And it's not like Becton came into to these games in preseason and struggled. Like he played really well in preseason. So we're going to overreact to practice reports because let's be honest, we're all starving for football and we're all refreshing our Twitter timeline every 3 seconds for an update. Don't overreact. Becton's
by the way, people are going to like this. And when I explain why, you're going to agree with me. You don't take someone who's got really, really, really like elite level talent and put them out of their position. Now, Laramie Tunsil, 2016 draft, I'm pretty sure was the year he was drafted. Everyone was expecting him to be like a top 3 pick. He slid because of the whole marijuana gas mask thing, whatever crap. And the Dolphins picked him at 13. They started him as a guard that year. Who was the coach of the Dolphins that year? It was Adam Gase. All right. Now I all think, and by the way, that stunted Tunsil's development as a left tackle. It took him a couple years before he was even in the conversations of being like a borderline top 5 left tackle. Right. So you took an elite level talent, you stunted his growth. I mean, like Becton is still learning to be an elite level tackle. You want to stunt his growth by putting him in the guard? You don't do that. Adam Gase did that with an elite level talent in Laramie Tunsil. So I don't like that.
We're going to do some lightning round with the other stuff because we have to go through the roster still and do the top 25. Some people talk about, CD2K, Ertz has good hands and good position. Yes, exactly. He knows where to be. People talk about Hennessy playing backup guard or center. No, he's like 240 pounds. That would never happen. Steven, I love that you're always here, but again, I think maybe this is not true for you, but Tristan Hodge was another example of groupthink. Somebody brought him up. I don't know who it was, Twitter, whatever it may be, but out of nowhere, everybody's talking about Hodge. And then I looked up on YouTube and he had a video of like him, like a 20-minute documentary type thing, and everybody loved him. He wasn't that good at BYU. He's super unathletic, and it's not a good fit for our zone system. So why did he get cut? Probably because he's just not very good and he doesn't really fit the system. So Hodge was another big example of groupthink, in my opinion. I could be wrong. You could have watched him and loved him, but that's just a name I saw come out of nowhere for no reason, to be completely honest, all throughout the offseason.
By the way, the whole groupthink thing, documentaries where you get to see someone's personal side and stuff a lot more, that really does inflate people's opinion of a player and stuff. And I would think, and listen, I definitely was higher on Justin Fields than you. But I never got all the hype of when people said Justin Fields could be a number 1 overall pick in pretty much any year's draft. I never quite got that.
I don't agree with that.
And when people were comparing him on Lawrence's level, like just from, I never quite got that from the beginning. And the first couple times I watched him, I was like, I don't quite get the hype. Like I see talent there, but I don't quite get the hype in terms of, but why am I talking about Justin Fields right now? Well, he has some kind of Netflix documentary, which is highlighting, all the intricacies and the behind the scenes of his life and stuff. So I think that's probably part of the reason why people have this I know he's a good player. I know he's a good player. It's 5-star recruit and all that kind of stuff. I get that. But I think that's another reason why people kind of elevated him.
It's that he plays for Ohio State, 1 or 2, and 3. What does everybody watch? They're going to watch the national championship game. Or and who played Ohio State, Clemson. So they watched that one game. And like I've said, Justin Fields in that championship game, or no, was it the game before that? It was the game before that. So it was the
semifinal against Clemson.
Semifinals. The semifinal game, that was the best game, in my opinion, that I've seen him play, Zach Wilson play, or Trevor Lawrence play. The best game I've ever seen out of any one of those people. The problem is consistency, and he did not have that. He did not play that every week. So if you think Justin Fields is what he is versus Clemson, you're sadly mistaken. That is not what he showed on film all year. It was one game. Geno Smith for the Falcons. If that was the only game you watched, why the hell are they just getting rid of Geno Smith? Or Sam Darnold versus the Packers or the Texans. It's not the case. So you got to think about this stuff. Steven. I'm just saying it's group thing. That's why people talk about him. That's the only reason. And people like to attach themselves to names they don't really know about, just to try to he makes the roster and you can kind of stand on that pedestal, even though you don't really have a reason to stand on that pedestal, kind of. But
hey Yoshi, Dax Milne made the Washington football team squad. I didn't know that, but I'm honestly, I'm not super surprised by that. Honestly, I know he was going against really garbage corners, like guys who were not even going to sniff the NFL, but Milne, he impressed me time after time on watching a lot of Zach's film.
He made really nice contested catches, but
but Hodge, he never jumped out as
Kyle. We'll get to this stuff pretty quickly. Morgan signed to the Panthers practice squad. Obviously, cut him. We know why we cut him. He wasn't good. Adam Gase pick versus Joe Douglas pick versus signing him or drafting him over the Patriots, whatever it is. Didn't play well. They cut him. They try to stash him on the practice squad. The Panthers picked him up. Gamesmanship, whatever it is, trying to learn the Jets playbook, whatever. If you're whatever you're going to learn from James Morgan, he probably ends up getting cut from them. We signed him back. I think that's what it is. But I'm not losing sleep over James Morgan getting signed to the Panthers. Probably it sucks. He was a 4th round pick from a couple of years ago. But you have to cut your losses sometimes, and he was not playing well at all. So,
yeah, I mean, like, really, what type of monumental information is he going to give them? This type of crap happens a lot, but he could maybe point out a couple of the audibles calls that the Jets make. But honestly, though, like Morgan, he looks so lost out there, and he was so slow in all his deliveries and stuff. How well does he really know the offense that he's going to be able to like really give them a big
and they're
advantage?
not game planning for the Panthers right now anyway. And Ahmed said Bless Austin stands because of one Jets drive last year. Yeah, that and the fact that he started in his rookie year and made a couple of plays.
I must not have watched that episode of One Jets Drive.
The interview where he's saying, "Oh, I should be paid like a corner one." People are like, "Oh yeah, get your cash." I was like, "What the hell are you talking about?" Frankie from Flatbush really good point. He says BYU has an army of social media commentators who hype up any BYU players. It's happening right now with Bushman. Could be true, and I think that's a good point. CD2K, I didn't like Fields. Sorry, I would have cried. Has Fields grown his game at all since the first time you watched him?
He had a great throw in that last preseason game. And this is something that I've criticized him for. I criticized his ability. Like, you would think him being as athletic as he is, and he's a good athlete. He can run a good 40, no doubt about that. He's decently solid too, so he could break a tackle in a bind too. I kind of criticized his improvisational ability, making things happen out of structure. And he had an insane throw booting to his right, fitting it in between 2 or 3 guys in end zone in his last game. So that was a good play. But I haven't watched enough of the Bears games to really say.
I watched. So this is when obviously, and listen, kill me if you want, whatever. I gave up on Sam Darnold too early. You can ask again, the kid Tom who's in here. He's on here.
You didn't give up on Sam Darnold too early.
I gave up on Sam Darnold like week 2 of last year. Like I watched, I was like, it's just not it. He's just not it. And then I started watching. I watched Justin Fields first, and we'll get off this because I've already brought this up. I watched Fields first because he was supposed to be the number 2 pick at the time, and I was like, I'm not so thrilled about him being the number 2 pick. Like I'm not overly happy with it. And then I watched Wilson. I'm like, that's it. Easily. And this is before they finished their seasons. I was so much more high on Wilson. I was underwhelmed with Fields' film based on what I saw. And again, I did reviews out there and I broke it all down and all this stuff. And I just didn't really like him as much as I thought I would and based on the hype. But moving on, Kyle, Reuben Foster, 27 years old, 1st round pick a couple of years ago from Bama, has had a couple of injuries, had the domestic violence incident. I don't know exactly what happened. Now there's claims out there that the girlfriend was making it up and maybe she admitted to it. I'm not diving that deep into it. But what are your thoughts on them working him out? I think today.
So here's my initial thoughts about that. Like, you want to talk about linebackers in like the last 10 years that have been drafted with like insane amount of talent. Like, he's one of them. Like, he is insanely talented.
Okay. So Tom, you're still in here. How early was I rooting for losses in the Jets season and gave up on Sam Darnold? He can attest for me because I watched games in his driveway with his Jets bus, but continue.
Yeah. Joe was pretty early. I mean, Joe's decline on Darnold was like quick, quick. If you go back and watch shows that Joe and I did, like, I was always very lukewarm on Darnold, whereas Joe was a lot higher and earlier. Huh?
We got to expedite.
What do you mean you got to? Oh, you want me to? Not doing this?
No, you can go into it, but we got to speed it up. We still have a lot to talk about.
Okay. Yeah, because if I go talk about Darnold, I can go on for a long time.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I know you're starting to get into Darnold. We're gonna be for 30 minutes. So,
but anyway, yeah, Joe definitely he did give up on him very early in last season. Although I don't think anybody was as early as me, man.
KD said Joe's whose jersey's at. It's Quinn Williams.
But hold on, we were talking about something else though before we started talking about Darnold.
I was talking about Fields. I just watched Fields. I wasn't overly thrilled to talk about James Morgan. Yeah,
I like there was something else.
I think Fields is like, I don't know. We've brought this up before, and like people don't give a shit for it, but like I think like he's like the generic Madden build, and it's like the new like woke culture that like supported him like a lot. Like nobody would go against the guy. Nobody would say anything bad about him. Nobody would criticize him. I think it's because he's like the Madden build, like the big, fast guy who could run and had arm strength. But like that's all people would talk about. Like, oh, he played for Ohio State and he's big and he's athletic. And it's like, okay, well, what about Why does it take him an extra second to throw the ball to an open guy? You know, his offense isn't very translatable to the NFL. They have a lot of their offense is a lot based on option routes. So yeah, people say he stares at guys. He would go through his reads as well, but he stared at guys based on what his offense is built around. And it's not very translatable to the NFL. So it's not a clean transition for a lot of those Ohio State guys. So people talk about Ohio State guys not working out in the NFL. That's why, because of the offense. So
we were talking about Reuben Foster. That's what we were talking about.
Sorry, yes. So I don't, and again, it's not like don't take me wrong, but it was like the new hot thing to everybody loved Justin Fields, no matter who it was, like the lower level NFL media trying to get into the game, NFL draft guys, nobody said anything bad. Like nobody had him below Wilson. And it was just like the cool thing to do, in my opinion. To be completely honest, like that's how I feel, because like then when you ask people about his game and what was so much better about him than Wilson, people didn't really bring up good points. So I was confused. So, and again, me personally, not being a bullshit artist, I watched the shit, I broke it down, and I was much higher on Wilson. That just is what it is. Whatever.
Yeah, I don't know how much we want to get into that storyline, slander, BS and stuff, but I didn't like how everyone's, Wilson's he's a racist, entitled, spoiled kid. Like what? Like that was,
yeah,
that ticked me off a little bit.
So Reuben Foster.
Okay, Reuben Foster. Anyway, so you want to talk about like really talented linebackers just from a talent perspective in the last 10 years? Like he had some really special college film, like really, really special. Like you want to talk about movement ability and stuff, just like laying savage hits on people, blowing up, pulling guards and things like that. But this dude hasn't played in such a long time. And I think he's had it's not just the off the field incidents, testing positive for marijuana on numerous occasions, whether or not that should be,
who gives a shit,
whether or not that should be a rule. I mean, it is a rule.
So there's okay. And exactly, Kyle, I'll be really quick. Should it be illegal to smoke weed in the NFL? I couldn't give, excuse my French, I couldn't give two fucks less if you smoke weed. I don't care, as long as you're not high during the game. But the fact that it is a rule and you don't abide by that rule is not a good thing. Is wearing a black undershirt illegal? No. But is it a policy for my work where I'll get in trouble and written up if I wear a black undershirt? Yes. So do I follow that rule even though it's stupid? Yes. So if you can't smoke weed, you can't smoke weed. Do I give a shit about the morals of smoking weed? I couldn't care any less. I really could not care any less. I did it plenty when I was in high school. But if you can't do it in NFL, you can't do it, you know? So, but yeah, he had that. He had the domestic violence. But the thing is,
and by the way, just to keep it 100%, I do not know anything about, I mean, I heard that he had domestic violence incidents and stuff. I have no idea if his girlfriend or significant other or whomever recanted. Yeah. I mean, certainly people make that stuff up sometimes. I have to think
more than you, I'm not gonna say for him more than you think. Trust me.
I have to. Yeah. And you would know being that you're involved in that sphere. But the Jets obviously have a ton more information as to us. Like that's one of the really, unique things about teams, and this is one of the reasons why players slide in drafts, and the regular fan is like, why is this happening? Teams know a lot of stuff you don't know, and maybe the Jets. I was really shocked because like we were talking about this. I think it was last stream. I asked both you and Anya. I said, like Joe Douglas said he wanted to build the best like culture in sports out there, and I was like, I cannot think of one questionable character guy that he brought in. Now, Tannenbaum brought in several guys with questionable character, you know, trading for someone like Santonio Holmes and things like that. Mike McCagnon, same thing, even Idzik, you know, but Joe Douglas is up to this point. I can't think of anybody with questionable character that he's either drafted or signed. So when I saw Reuben Foster, I was like, okay, you know, not that I know all the details about Reuben Foster and stuff. It's not like I followed it that closely, but you know, usually when there's that amount of smoke, usually there's some level of fire. And, you know, a player who's had injuries, he hasn't been playing that. It kind of, you know, was a little bit surprising to me and stuff, but he is very, very, very talented. So I don't know, maybe he hasn't smoked weed in a long, long time. Maybe the domestic violence stuff is BS and the Jets have done their private investigative research on the matter. Robert Saleh has familiarity with him. I don't know.
People in the NFL, people have been outward with this. There's like a 3-month testing window you have in the NFL. I forget what it is. It's like March to May, whatever. Maybe they changed it recently. Like there was like a 3-month testing period where you couldn't just smoke weed. So if you can just smoke weed for 8 months out of the year and be happy with it and not smoke it for the 3-4 months, you're fine. But somebody else brought up Ertz. Like, yeah, people about, oh, he's too old. He's washed up. He's 30 years old, 31 years old. Jason Witten's like 35 and still relatively effective. Frankie from Flatbush is saying Sheriff has a right guard in free agency. I'll be 1,000% down. I'm down with building the best offensive line in the league. That's what I'm cool with, and having him is another piece of that and whatever. So I'm cool with that.
People were saying, so I was talking with some Steelers fans and wait, you talk about Scherf is the Redskins player. Are you talking about Scherf or are you talking about
Scherf?
He's not a free agent.
He's going to be free agent next year. He's talking about next year.
Never mind.
Yeah, next year I'll be down with it. And then Foster Franz brought up, which is a good point too, because I remember this. He was the guy at the combine. Remember, like they were like examining him for like his injury issues, and like he like freaked out the doctors and nurses in the hospital and like walked out or whatever it was. There's a whole big thing about that. Now the thing is, okay, that's 4, 5, 6 years ago. He's 27 years old. Maybe he matured. And the thing is, maybe they bring him in. They're interviewing him. They're asking him the tough questions, seeing how he responds. Maybe they bring him in. They sign him. And they tell a guy, whoever the locker room leader is, like they can have this happen. Like Saleh monitors him. Maybe they tell a guy like GVR or maybe a Mosley, say, hey, we told this guy if he fucks up even the slightest bit in the locker room, he's getting cut. And then you tell your leaders to kind of watch out for him. And if he screws up, then they bring it to the coach and he brings it to the GM and he's gone. So I think that can happen. But if you're telling me just off a pure talent perspective, I'm not talking about the DV stuff, domestic violence stuff, whatever it is. I'm not looking into that right now. I'm talking about just on the field. Would I rather have him 2 years removed out of the NFL over Quincy Williams? 1,000%. That dude is he's a really good hitter. His rookie year, he was making tons of tackles when he was healthy. He had some injury problems, but he dominated the game against the Redskins against Adrian Peterson. Remember that? But
dude, when he was a top 10 talent in that draft, no doubt about it. You could even argue top 5 talent. When he slid to 31, I think it was in that draft.
Because of the off-field stuff.
Everybody's like, what? The 49ers is embarrassment of riches. They had Navarro Bowman and they had Patrick Willis. And now they're getting this guy. Like what? Like all these really, really all pro level linebackers.
2 injuries, Kyle, that happened in the preseason. Davis.
But one thing about Foster before you move on. Just from a talent perspective, the other Alabama inside linebacker that we have on the team, if we're comparing talent level coming out of college, he's way more talented than CJ Mosley coming out of college. Now, this guy hasn't been playing in a while.
Talking about just college player.
I'm just talking about college. I'm not talking about NFL,
correct. Just as a prospect without the
I think
stuff.
Foster's had more injuries and things like that too. So,
Foster was supposed to be a top 5 pick. He fell top 5, top 10. Moving on, Davis injury.
And by the way,
go ahead, Kyle. Go ahead. Lightning round. We're fucking it up.
No, you got to go on for years about Tony Danza and Michael Kay and stuff.
That was an hour ago.
Okay. Yeah, they'd have to probably make it really clear to Foster, like, hey, listen, man, you are on such a short leash. There probably he probably would have 0 guarantees in his contract or whatever if they signed him. I'd have to imagine for them to even be kicking the tires on this, they've done so much research that they feel somewhat comfortable. I don't know, but whatever.
Yeah, good job. Good point, Yoshi, bringing up that Zach Wilson for being entitled. He was delivering DoorDash in college, so that's it's a shitty job. Trust me. Davis.
And by the way, his family does have money. No, you get to. Why do you get to comment on me?
I'm just trying to. We don't have to hit on every single topic, both of us, but continue. Go ahead.
So. So his family does have money, right? But he's still taking the job because he kind of feels bad asking for extra money and stuff. So, he's really entitled. All right.
Okay. Davis injury, McDermott injury. Don't love the McDermott's, whatever. The thing with Davis going down until week 6 or 8, I am concerned with the run defense. They didn't have the biggest interior offensive or defensive line in terms of containing the run already. And now you take Davis out, who's a decent run defender. And now you take a light defensive line with a linebacker core of 2 previous safeties with Hamza and Sherwood. I am concerned, one, with the lack of experience from both of those guys, more Sherwood than Hamza. I think Hamza, again, I have my issues with Sherwood. And we saw that in the Eagles game where he missed a tackle. I said exactly that in college. He takes angles that he's not going to be afforded at the NFL level. He took an angle in the Eagles game that he was not afforded and he got beat for a touchdown. Exactly what happened. And
by the way,
slightly
that's
concerned
against
with the run
backups.
defense.
That's against backups. Okay.
Not Christian McCaffrey.
Imagine when you're playing, Tom Brady and, he's going to get to that check down, or he's going to get to, I forget, some kind of wheel route or whatever it was. He's going to get to it a lot quicker. And the running back who's going to be catching it is not going to be a backup. So and Sherwood had decently, quick play recognition and stuff, but it's going to be even quicker in an actual game. But Sherwood just can't move that fast.
Yeah,
so it's a concern.
He's just not even an average athlete, in my opinion. So people automatically assume with him that he's a safety, so he's a great athlete. He's not as good of an athlete as Mosley, as Hamza Nasruddin, as Cashman, as Davis. He's not an athlete like that. He's just not. So So
what about Deion Jordan? Someone brought him up in the chat.
Apparently 2019, he had some decent pressures. In 2020, he was absolutely dreadful. So maybe they bring him in. I'm not sure. And
that's also interesting because he had his fair share of quote unquote character concerns. I'm not exactly sure what they were, but it's part of the reason he never really, he was the 9th overall pick, I think, something like that. Or no, he was a 3rd overall pick, excuse me. And he didn't play for a long time in Miami.
Frankie said, imagine you order food and then Zach Wilson's waiting there. Yeah. Davis is injured. He got injured. France had 2 overrated men enter, only 1 leaves, I guess, between Foster and Deion Jordan. So yeah, I'm concerned with the run defense. I am, Kyle. Again, Rankins is good. All these guys are good, but JFM, not the best run defender. Rankins is spotty. Mosley's even pretty, Mosley's fine in the run game. I'm not going to bring him up, but Hamza, light. Sherwood light. I think the Jets are going to get
run. And they cut Ronnie Blair.
He's on the practice squad, I think, or on the IR or whatever. So, Kyle, we'll get to this. Actually, we'll get 3 more topics before we get to the roster, and then we have to do the top 25, which is we probably should have let off with. That's the meat and potatoes. But who do you think played themselves on the team in preseason?
Played themselves on the team in preseason.
Busted Knuckles. I told you 5-hour show. No, I'm expediting for that. I have to. This is not, it's different when my wife is sleeping and I can just keep going. But when she's here, okay, let's,
I would say smart, but he didn't actually make the actual roster. So I don't know if that answers your question properly.
Yeah, I said smart to practice squad. I guess he played himself on. Adams, I don't know how he didn't play himself on the practice squad. I'll mention that really quickly. I put White, question mark. I guess he played himself onto the roster. I have no idea. And then the guy who definitely played himself onto the roster is Jeff Smith. I guess, after last game, really good on end rounds and jet sweeps and whatever. So I think Jeff Smith put himself onto the roster.
I'm telling you right now, Jeff Smith will throw a couple passes this year. You will see it this year.
I was going to bring that up. I think that even 5 times, him on an end around, on a reverse end around, whatever it may be, somebody leaks out and then he throws in the ball. I think that will happen. And again, I think he's like that backup to Elijah Moore for that type of stuff where Barrios is going to be that punt returner. But we're going to keep going off the roster. Anybody play himself off the roster? You think, top of your head?
You say one first.
I said 2. I said Herndon, I guess, play himself off the roster in terms of getting traded. You had guys like Yeboah getting 2 touchdowns, by the way. Those 2 touchdowns and 100 yards were overrated, but it is what it is. They're pretty,
we don't need to talk about that anymore. There's too many
Yeboah fans. It is what it is. Too many. There's a lot of Yeboah fans. The catch was nice in the end zone, but that touchdown was terrible coverage. But regardless, the first one, him and I guess Zuniga too, in terms of not stepping up at all.
That is a good one.
Zuniga did nothing.
Why is he on the roster, man?
Nothing.
Oh no, they did cut him. But he initially made it though, right? He was initially there. Why isn't he cut yet?
Yeah.
Dude.
Kyle, next 2 more topics before we get into
and I was chatting with Nania while he was putting together his final 53 and it looked pretty good. And I was like, this is probably the only thing I'll disagree with you on because I've seen nothing from Zuniga.
Yeah, no,
ever.
He's been dreadful. So next biggest needs, your top 5 biggest needs after preseason.
I feel like you always ask me about needs. Interior offensive line.
Number 1.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'll probably put backup quarterback too, because it's not like Wilson's an Iron Man and he's never been injured. He has missed games in his college career, so we can't act like he's invincible. And if he does go down, listen, I'm telling you, Mike White might be the worst backup quarterback in the league. Maybe. I mean, because he's no experience, and he's no experience. And dude, in terms of talent, he's got a little pop gun arm, man. Everything. Mike Wilson must have a lot upstairs, because, and I think this is part of the reason why Vitor kind of likes him, because Vitor
Mike
was
White?
yeah.
You said okay. You said Mike Wilson.
Okay. I meant to say Mike White. Because he processes things pretty quick and stuff, and he was efficient in that regard. But he was throwing against backups a lot of the times and stuff, so it made it a little bit easier. But dude, when you have starters on the field and stuff, those windows, those holes are going to close a lot quicker and stuff.
Especially the weak arm and slow processing.
Dude, think about like Luke Falk and stuff, man. Like he had a couple pick sixes and things like that, and you want to talk about someone who really had a weak arm and stuff.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't know if I've seen enough Mike White deal with pressure and things like that. That's another area where Luke Falk really sucked. Falk.
The Giants game, he dealt with pressure. He faded backwards and missed a wide open tight end on an over route, and he took a sack. So it wasn't good what I saw.
Yeah, great point. So I almost want to say that's two. Tight end is a big concern, but I would probably put linebacker before tight end. Would you agree with me? Yeah.
So I have like four like major ones, and obviously we can say corner, but this is for this year because we have to be realistic with what they're going to address. Going to the chat really quick. Zuniga's on the practice squad. Yes.
Oh, lightning round.
We'll talk about that in a little bit. Yeah, but I try to go quick. I don't like. Well, back in 1970, CD2K. Yes, he will improve the run game. Quinn a lot, but still, you still have guys like Rankins and JFM, and then later linebackers. They will get run on a little bit this year. This is not the 2015 Jets with Wilkerson and Damon Harrison and Sheldon Richardson. That is a really good run defense, or even the 2010s. They'll be decent. I have backup offensive line 1. I have backup quarterback 2. I have tight end 3, and I have linebacker 4. Because they have like 4 or 5 guys right now, and Quincy Williams is like that 5th guy. I'm not comfortable with it. So those are my top needs after preseason, and hopefully they address them through the waiver wire and stuff. They haven't yet, but which is slightly concerning. But before we get into the roster, one more thing, Kyle. Matt Kavanaugh. Thoughts on them bringing him in kind of in that, rest in peace. I'm blanking on his name.
Greg Knapp.
Greg Knapp. That role, which again, we didn't want to discuss it right after it happened because it was like too sensitive of a topic. Losing him is big, obviously from a person's perspective, but also on the football field for Zach Wilson and for the young coaches. Having that guy in that room who could coach up Zach Wilson was huge. Like we have rookie coaches too. You understand, youngest team in the NFL, rookie quarterback, rookie staff, first time offensive coordinator, first time head coach, all this stuff. Greg Knapp was that stabilizing force in that quarterback room around that offense. He's obviously gone. Again, rest in peace. But now, do you replace him right away? Like it's a sensitive topic. They brought in Matt Kavanaugh. I like the move because they needed somebody else. And I'll just read some stats that I think Nani put out. Led Sanchez to a 33 and 29 record, 4 playoff wins. Jay Cutler to a 89 and an 88 passer ratings in 2013, 2014, second and third best marks of his 12-year career, and helped Kirk Cousins succeed in his first 2 years as a starter. Again, has been around the league for years and years. So do you like the move? Do you not like the move?
Those are some pretty good stats, man.
I don't think you could dislike it, to be honest.
Yeah, and when you're talking Cutler and Sanchez, you want to talk about 2 guys who never really lived up to the hype. And Kirk Cousins, Kirk Cousins was a 4th rounder. I mean, that's. And I know everyone loves to shit on Kirk Cousins, but you want to talk about a guy who, dude, he ended up taking the job from the 2nd overall pick. And Kirk is certainly, not as good as his contract says he is, but from where he was drafted, he really kind of made a name for himself. So I didn't know those stats, but those stats do say something. I think it's.
So Adam Gase coached Peyton Manning to his best year.
You are right about that. Listen, I think you can't be viewed as being bad. There was probably a reason why he was unsigned. If he was as good as, everyone might want to think he is, he probably would have already been on a staff. But I think obviously when you lose someone like Knapp, that's a big void. And there's a reason why you have so many different guys on the coaching staff. Football is a huge game. You're always trying to find that extra little edge. So to bring in a guy who can help look at the game from a little bit of different perspective than LaFleur or Saleh is going to do.
Yeah.
I think it's good. So you had a big void there. So I think it was good that they kind of brought in someone else.
Again, it was sensitive to talk about it right after it happened, but like we were both like sensitive, but they need another guy there. You just don't want to replace him right away. So yeah, Verge is mentioning that too. Glad you got back safe from dinner or whatever you're at with wife and your kids. Mr. Bonesy, you mentioned a couple times, pick a corner you think will start opposite of Hall. I think Eccles wins it. I think you meant to say Eccles. I agree with you. Yeah, and Liam, we slid in Kavanaugh a couple weeks after the Greg Knapp thing. It's an important position though. You can't just be like, oh well, listen, he passed away. We can't bring in anybody else now. Like it's a football team. You need to pay respects, but you need to move on, and it's like if your head coach passed away or we not have a head coach this year. Obviously that's a larger extent, but you know what I mean. Bless Austin had some Charles Woodson, and we're going to regret releasing him.
He's trolling right there.
He's trolling, or he's Bless Austin's cousin, the guy who was coming after me on Twitter and said I can't hold his dick or whatever he was saying on Twitter. So
wait, that's the same guy?
No, I'm saying if they have to, it probably is. I guess if he really means that, that's an absolute joke.
Bless Austin has 0 Charles Woodson.
I just put 15 plays of him getting absolutely roasted. So yeah, the plays that Woodson got roasted. Sure.
Dude,
Kyle,
Charles Woodson was like one of the smartest corners to ever play the game too. Bless Austin, is one of the, in terms of playing, is one of the dumbest corners out there.
Yeah, we got moderators for that. So if people are trolling and if you keep saying that, that's just stupid. So before we get to the top 25, which I'm really, really excited about, Kyle, I always love doing this. So hopefully the 140 people are going to stay here for the long run, because that's what the main topic of the show is. But we're going to run through the roster really, really quick just to kind of hit anything we missed. The quarterbacks, Wilson and White, not too much of a surprise. It's what we both predicted. I think we'd both say that we probably prefer Josh Johnson to be the backup.
Yeah.
But with the new rules with the NFL now, or with the practice squad, you could bring up 2 players from the practice squad like at any moment before a game, and then activate them, and then right after the game they go back down to the practice squad. So you kind of have almost like a 55-man roster now. So Josh Johnson's kind of there as well.
Yeah, and I don't think the Jets really don't have to worry about someone plucking him from a different roster. Listen, Josh Johnson was recently signed by the Jets really late in the whole process. So they don't have to worry about someone signing him off the practice squad, I don't think.
Eagle said, hey, Joe, yesterday someone on Jets channel was asking your thoughts on Pinnock. Can you address your feelings towards him?
They were asking Joe to share his thoughts?
He was one of the most interesting studies that I've done, Kyle, and you obviously watched as well. He just needs to be more consistent. So people talk about his elite athleticism. Yeah, it's super roller coaster ride. One play absolutely dominates a guy, staying square, squeeze him to the sideline, and throws him out of bounds. Ultra aggressive, hitting a guy like really, really good. Next play,
he's throwing boxing combinations in terms of his jams.
Yeah,
sometimes.
Yeah. His hands were great in press sometimes, but you get him off coverage. You throw him, you run him deep. You get his back to the ball, not comfortable. In terms of like being comfortable in off coverage, like a cover 3, cover 4, where he's a little bit off and having to break on guys, not comfortable, takes him a second to pull a trigger. Eyes aren't disciplined. Again, not the best athlete in terms of straight line speed, not comfortable playing the ball deep. So like he's a guy who, if he develops ball skills deep and comfortability deep, could be a really good player. But his film was way too up and down to be considered a starter right now. Frankie from Flatbush, what is the best way to learn how to analyze film? That's a really hard question, to be honest. I would say read that Pat Carwin book just so you can learn a little bit more, and then just start breaking down film. I'll give him. It's a hard question to answer. Hell, like
Frankie, and you can answer this in the chat. I'm asking you a question, Frankie. Are you a member of JetX? If the answer is yes, watch Blewett's breakdowns. You'll learn a lot about, specific player. You'll learn some about scheme, but you'll learn a lot about specific player techniques and different terminology for what players can do and things like that, and certain techniques that they use. And you get a free month, so if you learn a lot, watch Blewett's Blitz film reviews on players, and then he's going to put out one every week from all the games and stuff. They'll probably be like 3+ hours long. You learn you'll learn a ton from that. And then if you want to learn more scheme and things like that, there's other resources you can go to and stuff. And we could talk about that, but I would say that's a great place to start because you're a Jets fan, I'm assuming. Otherwise you probably wouldn't be in this chat. Although sometimes we get people from other fans. So you'll learn a lot about your team, but you'll also learn a lot about, players in the game as well, just from doing that. And it's a shameless plug and things like that, but
he said he's not So Frankie, before the season,
So join today. That's a call to action. Join today.
yeah, join today, and then let's just say whoever your favorite players in the draft, like let's say you love Elijah Moore, ABT, they're like 2 to 3 hour breakdowns. Just go watch, and then like not even with my stuff, like whoever stuff you're watching, like high school coaches, go read books, write notes, and then try to take those notes, and then try to watch film that somebody hasn't broken down, and then try to break it down for yourself, and then like maybe like go to watch Elijah Moore game against Alabama, break it down. And then try to take your best absolute notes and then go watch my stuff or whoever's stuff, hopefully mine. I'm really comfortable with receivers and corners or ABT, and then kind of compare. And then you learn things and you write it down. And then you kind of like, I have a whole notes section on my phone from years ago of stuff I would like rehearse in my head and think about different coverages and what's the difference between a cover 4 switch and a cover 4 robber and a cover 4 thumbs and a cover 4 palms and all this stuff. And you start to rehearse and go over and all this stuff, but yeah, go watch the channel. It's just, again, let me know, Frankie.
I do agree with that last point. And like, for example, when Blewett and I were doing a lot of like Fields and Wilson eval, like I watched as much as I could of both those players before I watched any of his breakdowns or anyone else's breakdowns, because going back to a point that we were saying earlier, it's very easy in football to get into groupthink. Like you automatically think, oh, this player's good because you saw his rating in Madden or you saw his rating in PFF, or, you know, everyone was sharing a viral video of one play that the guy had on social media. That can really influence your opinion of something. So it is good to get your own idea of something before you get it from someone else. But I mean, like everyone has to be honest. There are tons of people that know more than you do. Like there are coaches who've been coaching for 20, 30 years. They know a ton more than me and stuff. Like, you know, I took like 3 football courses on CoachTube over the past weekend. There's guys that know way more than me and stuff. So, you know, everyone knows more than you and stuff, but it is kind of good. So to kind of get your own ideas and stuff. So you're thinking for yourself and then go and learn from other people too. But it's a constant thing where you're constantly learning
too. Like and we've built like somewhat of like a decent following here, and we're going to keep going up, and like people respect me for like the film Jets guy, one of them, right? You know, whatever. But there's people who know a fuck ton more than me, and like you just got to keep learning and writing notes and studying. And when you have time, go watch an hour thing. But Frankie, I'm going to hold you accountable. I know you've been here before. Pick like AVT or Elijah Moore, go watch it, and then you can email me, Joe Blewett at Jets X Factor. Tweet or message me on Twitter. I'll be 1,000% willing to help and do whatever. I love that shit. I really do. So I'm holding you accountable. Go watch them. So I want to know in the chat who you're going to watch. Okay.
And another thing too is like so coaches specialize in certain things. Certain guys out there, whoever you follow, like one person might know a lot more about quarterback play. One person might know a lot more about receivers play and cornerback play. Like, there's not, you also don't want to, like, there's not one person out there that's Jesus who knows everything. Right. So that's also something to keep in mind too. Like, oh, don't take this guy as gospel on every single thing. Like he could be wrong about some things as well. So, you know, don't even take Blewett as gospel, and Blewett knows a ton. He probably knows Jets film better than anyone else out there who's doing it. But yeah, but that doesn't mean that Blewett's always right too. No offense.
I did. Listen, there's times I'm wrong because obviously, like if you're gonna bring in Nick Saban into one of my film shows, I'm gonna get fucking embarrassed, you know. But you know, but like whatever. I'm not gonna whatever. For Jet stuff, I'm pretty confident in myself. But Frankie, who are you gonna watch? You didn't tell me. You said okay, sounds good, thanks. I want to know who you're watching. I'm holding you accountable. Moore, ABT, not Lawson. I think DNs. I don't love doing DNs. I would say ABT or Elijah Moore. But continuing on, Eagle asked something about Zach Wilson's Packers game where he made that Patrick Mahomes like throw to Corey Davis. There was a mini dispute about him missing the wide open Smith for the TD if you can. Everyone except Lord Sabo. Yeah, Sabo's great too. I'm not going to bring it up now. Eagle, we have so much shit to talk about, but he didn't miss anybody on that play. Again, the problem with that stuff
By the way, can we stop? I mean, everyone keeps doing the Mahomes. People have been doing it for a while, Mahomes and Wilson. There's some similarities there, but they are different players. And there is Like Mahomes' arm is like another level of special than Wilson, although Wilson's is very good. You know, I mean, that was a good play that Wilson had. I know there was a miscommunication there, but let's not act like that was an insane level throw or whatever.
No, it was a good throw. It wasn't great.
The most impressive part is the improvisation and the movability, right? Like the throw wasn't anything special, but he moved very nicely on the play.
Yeah. By the way, Yoshi, I don't know if I've seen Yoshi in here, but I don't know if I've ever seen him in comments on any of my stuff. I don't know if Yoshi's watched my stuff, to be completely honest.
Yoshi does on
the film shows.
I think, yeah, I don't know about that, but he's pretty active in the chats here though.
Eagle, in terms of that play, I'm not going to bring it up, but he didn't miss anybody. The problem with people is, even if they see the all 22 version, they don't look at the eyes and they don't match up the eyes to the reads and see where the reads are going. So Wilson will be on the field side looking at his 1 and 2, and then somebody on the back side of the play is running open. They're like, oh, he missed that guy wide open. It's like, no, when he first looked at the guy, he wasn't open. He went through his progressions. Now he's on the opposite side of the field. So he did not miss anybody on that play. But moving on, running backs, Michael Carter, Tevin Coleman, Ty Johnson, P. Ryan, it's what we both predicted. I think we both prefer, in terms of their play, Josh Adams to be over P. Ryan. We're happy that Josh Adams is on the practice squad, but not many surprises, right?
Yeah, no, not really. I mean, when I initially saw like the Jets cuts and I saw that Zuniga made it, I was like, what? Like that really surprised me. But then they eventually cut him. Yeah, so nothing really too shocking.
Okay. Wide receiver 7. I predicted 6. The top 6 that I predicted, obviously, Davis, Moore, Crowder, Cole, Mims, Barrios. We thought if there was 7, they would carry Vincent Smith, but Sabo said it. He was at practice. He saw him getting reps with the 1s and 2s because he has that actual media pass. He's there every day, even in private practices. And he said they're running him with some 1s and 2s, and they really like him. And he was right. And they really like him. And now he's a 7th receiver. And I think, again, he's like that backup, like gadget type wide receiver, the guy who, like we said,
he's going to get a lot of ending rounds.
Take an end around, throw it on one of those 30 end rounds he takes this year. So I'm comfortable with it. I'm surprised it's him over Vincent Smith, but
make no mistake, that is the reason they kept him. It's not because, as some people were saying, his releases are really good or whatever. No, and he looked really good in the end arounds against the Eagles. There's a ton of end arounds in this offense, period. And it doesn't mean that he's getting the ball all the time. Sometimes it's just fake and things like that. But you're going to see a ton of it in this offense. He's good at it. That's the reason they kept him. He's not the level of returner that Vincent Smith is, probably not even the level of receiver that he is either. So that's the reason they kept him, in my opinion.
Yoshi is saying he watches as much as he can on YouTube. The problem, so the thing that, so I kind of work to a niche, Kyle, and we've admitted this too. I'm going to get on this quickly. My reviews are 2 hours, so people don't get into the review. I don't really put out a lot of clips on YouTube, and when I do, it's 10, 15 minutes of a 2 hour thing. Mm-hmm. So it's a niche. Like I could put out a 15-minute video. I just don't like doing that. I like to do it for longer than that. But Alex Hunt said Joe Blewett, or I guess us, Kyle, whatever. Should I take Elijah Moore in fantasy before the 10th round at a 12-team draft? I think it's about the range for him. Off the top of my head, I don't know who's going to be there. But taking Elijah Moore early, I don't think you're being a biased Jets fan. I think it's relatively smart because I do think he'll ball out. Now, if it's a keeper league, yes. Depending on who's there, if it's a redraft every year, I'm not 100% sure. That's kind of the range in general. But in a keeper league, I would say I think him. Kyle was pissed the other day. We drafted. He's like, we had
a dynasty draft last.
My friend Tom did. He's in the chat. He did. Yeah, last night he took him. Who took him?
I had the 3rd pick, so I took Kyle Pitts. Dude, I thought about taking Elijah Moore. And I was hoping to get him on my 2nd pick, but
ready. I'm just gonna tell people my dynasty team real quick. Just my starting lineup. Ready? Herbert, Stephon Diggs, AJ Brown, Terry McLaurin, Jonathan Taylor, Ezekiel Elliott, TJ Hawkinson, Chris Carson, Keenan Allen, and then backups of DJ Moore, Damian Harris, Tyler Higbee, Pat Freiermuth, Zach Wilson, Myles Gaskin, Deshaun Watson, Akers, Hunter Henry.
Yeah, and
winning the ship. Winning the ship, baby.
This SOB tried offering me a trade yesterday. He wanted Alvin Kamara for Chris Carson and Moore? David Moore? No, not David Moore. Who's the Moore that
DJ Moore.
DJ Moore. He must think I'm an idiot.
I'm not saying you're not. CD, I wish I could watch all your content on my TV. You can't. Well, I guess if you don't have a smart TV. So yeah, receivers are not that surprising. I think we both would expect Vincent Smith over Jeff Smith, but in terms of being that backup gadget guy, and again,
dude, it's on Vimeo. If you have an HDMI cable, you can just plug the HDMI computer into the HDMI port of your computer, and then plug the cable into your TV, and then you can just play the computer and watch it from your big screen TV.
So 2 questions I want to hit real quick. Yeah, good point. I will definitely try to get the yearly stuff I wished I did before you guys did the actual draft. The draft though. Oh, dude, if you're talking about the fantasy draft or whatever, or the NFL draft, yeah, get it next year or get it now. Free month. Like I said, if you love Elijah Moore, go watch Elijah Moore. Like it's 2 hours long.
That was a fun review.
And I get into
he's going to see
the nitty gritty of receivers and corners.
We'll probably put about 5 or so plays of him at running back in that review.
Yeah, that's the area I'm the most like receiver and corners. That's my most comfortable. So if you want to like really know about Elijah Moore, go watch that. And then
and I've been saying that for years. Like I think like that's in terms of Blewett's scouting, I think his strongest is receiver and defensive back, specifically cornerback eval. I've been telling him that for years.
Yeah, it's and then offensive line. I've tried to offensive line and quarterback the last 2 years. I've tried to really improve on. It just takes time. It does. So there was something else I want to see in here, but I didn't want to see, but I wanted to address. I forget. Ahmed says he watches on a projector. Savage.
Wow.
Oh, the fantasy draft. Yeah, Yoshi. We're not keeping all 18 people every year. We're going to redo that every year. And I'm basically going to say it's going to be like August 7th. I'm going to say the first 12 to 14 to 15 people that email me, you're getting a spot. I don't give a shit. I'm not waiting for people doing a lot of stuff like I did this year. So moving on, Jeff Smith, backup gadget guy who's going to take an end around like Crowder and maybe throw a ball better than Sam Darnold. Tight ends and fullbacks, Tyler Kroft, Wesco, Griffin, Daniel Brown. Wish I did something else in free agency here or with claims. Kroft, I said it, Kyle. If you watch the reviews, another promo, I said during that review, Kroft is easily the best tight end on the roster, and is when he's healthy.
That's the key word, easily.
Easily.
You've been saying that for months.
Easily the best tight end on the roster, and he is when he's healthy. Wesco, solid fullback. Griffin, okay backup.
That's the big question with him, though. Is he's had 22 catches in the past couple of years, and health is a big reason why.
If Griffin was what he was pre-injury, like.
He looked really bad last year.
Yeah, the Texans. When he's at the Texans, I said like he's not that bad. And then when he was good with the Jets, like for that when he's in tight end 1, okay. But Griffin Brown not thrilled with it, but nothing we didn't really expect. Minus Herndon being traded, but Brown making it because Brown's a blocker. Yeboah is not a blocker. They need blockers. Brown's on the roster. I'm not shocked. CD2K, you missed the boat on fantasy. I remember for 2 weeks. You guys have a chance all next year.
I told you guys Yeboah wasn't making it. I told you that from the moment I watched him.
We could just make it a 20-team draft. No, I can't. It's too much. 18 is already too much. Next year, I'm doing 16 because there's 32 teams, 32 starters, quarterbacks. I'm doing 16 next year at the max. And then we'll try 16 next year. If it's too much, we'll do 14, then 12. And whoever gets there, it is what it is. Offensive tackles, Mekhi Becton, Moses, Fant, Adoga. It would have been McDermott. McDermott's hurt. Adoga's on the team. Nothing shocking, right?
Adoga's shocking.
But McDermott's not here. He's injured. So who else are you going to carry? How's it shocking?
I mean, okay, maybe pick some up in waivers. We've seen nothing. I don't say nothing. There were times when Adoga had, relatively nice looking feet in his pass sets, but overall, I think he's been a major disappointment. So, yeah, I know McDermott went down, and that's probably the only reason why Adoga's on the roster. But to me, you're Joe Douglas. You didn't even draft this guy. I would have been looking hard at another tackle replacement, but I guess there was really no one worth it out there. And Adoga's still young. He's still young enough and cheap enough to the point where, okay, might as well keep him.
CD2K, I like that subtle move, Croftman on the linebacker for the tight end or for the touchdown. That's what they call a squirrel route in this offense, apparently, which is just it's a one-step stick nod. There's like 1 step, there's 3 steps, and apparently they call it a squirrel. So he's supposed to do that. So it's not like he was running a seam and put that route on. He was supposed to do that. But moving on, interior defensive lineman, again, Interior offensive lineman, I hope they claim somebody. I really do, because I'm not comfortable with what it is right now. I want to carry 9 offensive linemen. I don't like the whole 4 thing. Interior defensive line, no surprises here. Q, Foley, Rankins, Shepard, Marshall. We weren't sure if Shepard or Marshall were both going to make it, but I think I predicted this actually, that all 5 were going to make it. So nothing surprising, right? We're just sorry I'm moving a little bit fast, guys, but we have the top 25 still to do.
Yeah, I'm blanking a little bit if I definitely had Shepard making it. But it's not, I wouldn't say surprising. Yeah. He's had flashes, especially his best year, in my opinion, was his second year. And he does give you something in the pass rush department, which some of the other interior guys don't always give you. So
Go NY Go is saying 18 teams is very deep. Yep, we'll see. He's in it. So CD2K and Yoshi, I hope to see you there next year in the emails. You gotta watch the live streams. I'm gonna promote it randomly, and then whoever emails me again, you're in. I'm not waiting for people.
You want to get to the top 25?
We'll just keep running through this. We'll do again lightning round. I have like an hour and a half left. Edge defenders: Franklin Myers, Bryce Huff, Shaq Lawson, Tim Ward. Nothing shocking, I guess. Tim Ward over a guy in Rashid, but Rashid didn't really prove much in the preseason. Let's be honest. He had a sack that was unblocked. He had a couple of pressures, but nothing overly, crazy, I guess.
I remember
Tim Ward.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, and just I said with Tim Ward before, injured his first year at UDFA, good build. When he does play, he's producing. He got 3 sacks this preseason, and when he played in 2019, when he played like that one game, he got a bunch of pressures. So a guy who's flashed in the little he's played. So I get it.
When we did the stream right after the draft and I had first watched his tape, I said I would be absolutely shocked if this guy makes the team. Hamilcar, Rashid, that is. Yeah. So, it's not surprising to me that he didn't make it. He's he definitely put on some size. I bet you when the Jets signed him, they told him, hey, listen, you need to bulk up. And he did, but yeah. So there's a reason why he went undrafted. He's not very explosive and relatively small for not being that explosive.
Lewis is saying he'd rather have Vincent Smith for Jeff Smith. They're a little bit different. Vincent Smith's more like the punt returner, gunner, kick returner type guy. Long speed, actual like receiver. Like you could play him an X and run a post, where Jeff Smith more of like the gadget, smoke screen, bubble screen, tunnel screen.
Quick cut, get up the field type of guy.
Quick cuts. So they're different. So they want different roles. It's not about a 1-versus-1 comparison. Who's better? It's about different roles they fill. Ahmed says.
And by the way, dude, let's just think about this for a moment. So one thing that the Jets tried to do a couple times over the years with Robbie Anderson was give him end arounds. Every time the dude took an end around, he was never good. Now Robbie's super fast, but Robbie
ran him on end arounds. We were both just like, what? Like why?
Yeah, he would go down with a finger. You touch him with a finger, he'd go down.
Yeah,
but
and he can't change directions quickly. So
exactly, Robbie. So Robbie, in terms of quick outside release, taking a dude deep, he's one of the best deep threats in the league. Okay. But Robbie doesn't have those quick, violent cuts. Vincent's kind of more the long speed guy, whereas Jeff does have a little bit more of those violent cuts, which is very good for this offense because you're going to see a lot of speed sweep, jet sweep. And there's going to be a lot of times when he gets the ball one play, they run him around the next play and they don't give him the ball, but they fake him the ball the next play. So you'll see that a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Moving on to the linebackers, we have corners and safeties, and we get into the top 25, which is always a fun conversation. Linebackers: Mosley, Nasruddin, Sherwood, Cashman, Quincy Williams. Again, not surprised at the top 4. Would I rather have a KJ Wright or Quan Alexander on the team as a 5th or some other guy? Yes, this is not a position I'm thrilled with, but it is what it is when you have Jared Davis go down late in the season. It's a thin position, but no surprises, right? We'll move on to corner.
Yeah.
Eagles asking, where is Lord Sabo? He's going to be doing every other live stream with us when available. The thing about Sabo is he puts out content every once in a while. Nani and I put out a lot of the content, but again, it's me, Nania, and Sabo as the owners. Sabo is managing so much shit behind the scenes. It's incredible. So that's what he's doing. He's the guy. We need him for that, and that's what he's all doing. So, moving on, corners: Bryce Hall, Pinnock, Carter II, Eccles, Guidry, Dunn, Hardy. This is what I was going to predict that I would do personally, but I thought they would carry Austin. So I said Dunn would make the practice squad. But this is exactly what I wanted. And Dunn hasn't played well. He's not going to see a lot of reps, but this is not overly surprising minus them cutting Bless Austin, which they should have done not a year ago, but they should have done it. Bless Austin is terrible. So I'm not surprised.
I am a little surprised that just given what we saw all summer and stuff and how bad Dunn played, it is a little surprising how it ended up turning out. But if you asked me to make a 53-man roster prediction before training camp started and before I saw Dunn in the games, I would have predicted him to be there. And even when we did do the prediction, I had him there. So that was I think before the Green Bay game. I think
it's a long-term thing versus a short-term thing. Where if you're telling me, okay, Dunn in year 2 and 3 is gonna be better than Bless Austin, based on what we watched of him at Oregon State, Kyle, I think both of them say yes.
I bet money on that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I think it is. Safeties: Marcus May, Joyner, Niesman, who was initially cut, by the way. And I think is it you or Nani who likes Niesman a little bit more than I do? Maybe
I like Niesman more than you do.
Yeah, he was cut.
Well, so maybe Nani does too. I don't know.
They put him out there. But with Ashton Davis, he's back and Redwine's back, and you're assuming Niesman and Redwine will see some playing time. Ash Davis comes back, and whoever's playing worse, he replaces them. But not really a shocker here. I don't think they brought in a guy who we didn't really know, but we needed a fourth safety. So
yeah.
Specialists: Amendola, Bradyman, Thomas, Hennessy. No surprises. Correct?
No. Nope.
Correct.
Amendola was clearly better than Nugar, who got cut.
Jeremy asked, any chance at all Guidry starts at cornerback 2 and Michael Carter II is the nickel? Kyle, thoughts while we're pulling up our top 25?
No, Guidry's not going to be a boundary corner.
No. He's good speed, good. So maybe if you're comparing him to a Jason Verrett, but Jason Verrett's like a bulldog. So I just don't see him being able Jason Verrett could do it, but in terms of their physical makeup and their intensity, there's a reason there's a baseline of aggressiveness and strength you need to play on the outside versus the Corey Davises of the world, etc. And I don't think Guidry has that. So I think they'll rotate in heavy with each other. And they'll get each on the field as much as you can. You might see Michael Carter at some safety reps, but I'd rather see Michael Carter at safety and Guidry on the inside than maybe a guy like a Niesman or whoever the Redwine. Maybe they flex him there a little bit. Maybe he's more of a chess piece, but I think they'll find a way.
You see Eccles or Pinnock, pretty much almost anyone as a boundary corner before you'd see Guidry there.
Yeah. So,
by the way, if they're doing a lot of cover 3 match, I wouldn't be shocked if you see Pinnock on the field as the corner on the single side where you have the X receiver, because typically he's singled up in man coverage, and you want to have a guy up at his face pressing,
he's locking him.
Yeah.
It can definitely happen. And I think it depends on the teams too. If you're playing obviously he's not gonna be able to cover him, but let's just say it's a Cardinals and you see a DeAndre Hopkins, maybe Pinnock sees some more time over whoever, maybe over Eccles. But now you're playing a team with the number 1 receiver, a Stephon Diggs, who is a little bit more agile, then you see Eccles more. Neither of those guys are gonna cover those receivers, but I think it's based on matchup a little bit too.
Because just from a schematic standpoint, sometimes going back to the cover 3 match, on the side of the field where they have let's say it's 3 receivers to one side, sometimes the responsibility of the corner is he has to split the 1 and the 2 and maintain a zone between those two. You never really saw Pinnock do that effectively in college, whereas someone like Eccles would be much more suited for something like that.
Yeah. Q versus F-line could be fun to watch. I hope so. Yeah, it will be.
Ooh.
And if you watch the Rankins review, Rankins absolutely shit on Elfline. So that's going to be bad for him.
Yeah, he did.
A lot of people talk about Madden. Dude, by the way, next
year,
Kirk
Cousins got killed in that game.
This year, I have Madden 22. If I have to
bought it?
Yeah. Me, Tom, my friend.
Oh yeah, that's right. I never mind.
There's 4 or 5 of us, 4 to 6 of us usually who draft a team that we play. If there's a couple of people who are willing to draft a team and play in a Madden League on Xbox, I would 100% dominate you guys in Madden. But I will bet $100 I will win the first year. $100. I'll bet $100 every single year I will win. I'll dominate you guys.
What a cocky asshole you are.
I will talk shit in Madden. Tom, is Tom still in here?
And you're talking about the beginning of the show. You're talking about how I need to be restrained and stuff.
It's is your name on the show, Kyle? Is it Blewett Smith Blitz? I'm fuck with you. So practice squad, 14 out of 16. Any surprises? I think they brought in some good names. I'll read them off real quick. Ronald Blair, happy with it. Josh Adams, happy with it. Grant Herman's, whatever. Lamar Jackson, okay. Josh Johnson, happy with it. DJ Montgomery, impressing camp, happy with it. Jimmy Murray, whatever. Delshon Phillips, whatever. Rashid, happy with it. Smart, happy with it. Vincent Smith, happy with it. Isaiah Williams, never heard of him. Kenny Yeboah and Zuniga.
Yeah. Just to go back to Smart for a moment. If I were the Jets, and I'm not, if I were, I would cut Shepard's ass, try to add him to the practice squad, and bring Smart on because, dude, honestly, the run defense looked concerning this preseason. I'm not concerned. Dude, I got Q and Rankins, who I can trust as a 3 technique to win as a pass rusher. But I'm a little concerned with run defense in certain spots. That's what I would do if I was the Jets, but I'm not.
Yeah. Lewis Edel join, Bonesy. Yeah, Tom's in my league, and I think everybody in that league, I beat everybody by at least 5 to 6 touchdowns a game. Tom runs the clock, so I don't put 100 points on him. You freaking pansy ass. So, okay. Anything else you want to mention before we do the top 25?
No, I want to do the top 25. You saved it for like the main event.
I know. It just, there's so much shit to get to, but there's still 141 people.
By the way, did you watch that bullshit Jake Paul fight?
I couldn't care any less about those motherfuckers. I don't care. So, France. Okay. So Kyle, do you want to do, obviously we're going to do fit 25-2-1. That's how we always have done it. We've done this for 6 years now. I think this is like our 6th or 7th time doing this.
Something like that. Yeah. I think we've done it every year for a long time.
So we're going to do 25-1. Then we're going to talk about some people at the end who just missed, guys who moved around, things like that. Nano Blitz, like Nano Blitz. No, I don't know what that is, but I don't cheat. So your 25th player on the roster, Kyle Smith. I always love doing this because there's always some good discussions. So
I got Ty Johnson, 25. I consider putting Joyner there, but honestly, I didn't like Joyner's film that much. I keep going back to, I really don't think that he does anything particularly well. I think he's really good in the classroom, so to speak. And he comes from that high pedigree and he's been around the league for a while. He's been on some teams that have won a lot of football games in terms of college and the NFL. So I think that's why he kind of sticks around, but I don't like his film that much. So I considered him there, but spoiler alert, Joyner is not in my top 25, but I do have Ty Johnson at 25.
Yeah. We had some people like when he was signed, like, oh, Marcus May and Joyner is like a really good safety duo. Joyner, if he's average, I would be ecstatic. Ramon Jose Jr., why don't we like Yeboah? Because he didn't prove much at college. He was schemed open, not a good blocker, not a hands catcher, drops balls, alligator arms balls over the middle, is not a good route runner. There's a lot of reasons that are proven.
Did you bring up his blocking?
I brought up his blocking.
Yeah.
My 25th player, Kyle, funny you mentioned, is LaMarcus Joyner. And versatility, plays up, plays deep. Big hitter, kind of, like he's relatively versatile. And again, we're talking about the 25th player on the team right now. So I'm not going to mention who just missed for me, but yeah, Joyner was a tough spot for me at 25, but I put him at 25.
Okay. Yeah. He probably would have been 26 for me, I think.
Okay. Who was your 24?
No, well, I went first. So now you give your 24 first.
Oh, so you're doing like a 2-1 thing?
Yeah.
Okay. My 24 is Tyler Croft. This is one I moved him out of the 25 into the 25, out of the 25 into the 25, but especially now that he's starting, when healthy, I think he's definitely my top 25, but I had to consider health with some of these guys. So I moved him out of it multiple times, but in terms of what he is as a player, I think that he is a very low tier tight end 1 when he's healthy, or like a below average tight end 1 when he's healthy. But I think that's good enough to make my 24th spot. So,
yeah, that's fair. Yeah, he was a little tough to kind of pinpoint as well. You might have emphasized injury more than I did with him. I won't say where I have him yet.
Oh, up a little bit, huh?
Yeah. So my
wait, you did rookies, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank God.
Yes, I have rookies in here. That would be stupid not to, especially being that we had so many
Rookies.
seemingly a good rookie class. My 24 is Gerard Davis.
Okay. I get it. We're in the same range. Tammy McDaniel, again, not to call you out, Yeboah is going to be a beast. Just tell me why.
Oh my gosh.
What did you watch from him minus the Hail Mary catch where he kind of body caught it, other than in college it says he's a beast. I don't get it.
Body caught it in a group of people.
The reason, and I'll go over this really quickly, that people like Yeboah is because people do 1,000 mock drafts, and in every mock draft he's available in the 4th round. You grab them. So when he's in a mock draft available in the 4th round, for people who don't know what they're doing, putting these mock drafts together, now he's a UDFA, and people are shocked that he's there. He's not gonna. There's no way the Jets cut him now from the active roster. He's gonna make the practice squad. Based on what? Teams passed on him like 230 times.
Yeah.
So
and I think part of it too is he went to Ole Miss, SEC football, and Ole Miss has had a ton of good pass catchers come out, including tight ends, Dawson Knox.
Go look at his highlights. It was all good. Just go look at the highlights. He was always wide open. And I did an hour breakdown where wasn't. Lewis made it. I'm not worried about James Morgan. Go for your 23. Sorry, go ahead.
23, I have Justin Hardy.
Respect. I didn't even think about him because of the special team stuff. I didn't put him on.
Good
point though.
Yeah, I just kind of thought about it more, and I was like, yeah, I could put another running back in here. But I was like, honestly though, the running backs at this point, I kind of view them as they're replaceable. This dude's not really replaceable, so that's kind of the reason I have him here where I have him. So Justin Hardy, 23.
Okay, I have my. Hold on, I screwed something up. Hold on, what number am I at?
Well, you're going to do your 23 now. I did my 25 first, then you did your 25, you did your 24 first, then I did my 24, I did my 23, now you're doing your 23.
CD 2K Davis, what did you see him? I'm not been impressed in preseason. Well, yeah, preseason nothing, but he's a guy who has a ton of really good athletic upside, who I think that Saleh can coach. That's basically what it is.
We talk about Gerard Davis. Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I see.
Zuniga just re-signed, to the practice squad. Braden, that was a while ago. You're late, Braden. My 23 is Michael Carter II. Or sorry, Michael Carter the first, the running back. That's my 23. So I had a hard time with the rookies based on projecting what they would do this year versus also respecting the fact to the other guys on the roster that they're still rookies. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I had that same.
Am I doing this based on where they are right now, or where they'll finish? I had kind of an internal conflict with that. So Michael Carter, and these are kind of the guys who are slightly below average to average at this point in my roster. So I put him there. He's a rookie. Do I think he'll be a solid running back for us this year? I do, but again, he's a rookie, so he's my 23. My 22, Kyle.
I kind of try to put a lot of emphasis on where they are now and what I think they will be at some point this year. Not so much year 2 or year 3. And down the road.
Braden's being sarcastic. Okay. So my 22, I'm not sure if I'm going out of order with whatever we're doing.
Yeah, go with your 22.
Vinny Curry.
Okay.
And Vinny Curry is and people, it was just a couple people, but I think people were kind of disrespectful to him in terms of seeing him get injured, and then it doesn't matter.
Okay.
People just thought he's a jag.
Yeah, no, that people were way off with thinking he's a jag.
Yeah, and they were, and just mentioning him, they were kind of oh, he's just another guy. It's not too big of a deal. He's a good pass rusher who's going to see 30 to 40 snaps, or not 30 to 40 snaps, 30 to 40% of the snaps in a game for the Jets, and was one of the better defensive end pass rushers they're going to have. And I ranked him a little bit lower again because he's older. He's not a great in the run game, and he's going to be a guy who saw situational reps for the Jets. So I put my 22. Who is your
dude?
22?
I'll say this right now. In terms of Blewett, do you agree with me with this? Take Carl Lawson out of the equation. In terms of an edge rusher as a pass rusher, just as a pass rusher, since John Abraham, the Jets have not had one as good as Vinny Curry for a stretch as long as Vinny Curry's been playing. You'd agree with that, right?
Are you talking about now or in his prime? What do you?
I'm talking about in his prime, or even now, well, now he's really at the
on
end
a down
of
to
his
down
career.
basis, considering he could do he could kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Like extrapolate what he did at 30% over 100% of the snaps kind of type of deal.
Sure.
Like effectiveness on one play. Yeah, no, he's
Like there were seasons where we got little spurts out of certain guys, like Malden his rookie year, but we never
Vinny
had
Curry,
like
just based on a 30% basis, would be the most effective Jets rusher they've had. Obviously minus Lawson since who?
Yeah.
Who?
Yeah, I'm
Literally
telling
who?
you, dude, Vinny Curry by far is, the most quality. And dude, in terms of pass rushing, he blows Jordan Jenkins out of the water. And I know Jordan Jenkins is beloved by a lot of fans, and he's a fine player and a good teammate and stuff. But all right, let me get to my 22.
We have, can I go do one question in the chat real quick?
Oh yeah, sure. Sure.
Ahmed, it's your Nania, dude. Nania still hasn't done an intro. I've been at Ajax Nania like 3 months ago. He's slacking. He literally does like 6 articles a day, and he probably forgets. But I need the new intro with the little Kyle thing for one show, and then there's another edit without the Kyle thing for when I do it myself.
By the way, someone said at the beginning of the chat we need to have a new intro with Zach in it now, which I totally agree with.
I queued up plays for Zach and Elijah Moore and all these people. Calvin Pace was not as effective as an edge rusher as Vinny Curry on a down by down basis. He was not. I don't care what anybody says. But
not even. I would say not even close.
Not even close. It's not close. He got secondary sacks because of the talent defensive line. He played 100% of the snaps. In terms of a down by down basis, I would take Vinny Curry in his prime over Calvin Pace any day of the week.
By the way, Calvin Pace was on the Jets for a long time, and one thing we've been saying throughout the show is every year you learn more about football and how to assess film and things like that.
Yeah.
I can't really attest so much to Calvin Pace in year one, which was 2008, or I think it was 2008 for him. I wasn't obviously watching the coaches.
I think it was 2005 or 6.
No, definitely not that early. Maybe 2007, maybe. I think it was 2000. I think it was 2008 though, which was Mangini's last year. Yeah, someone in the chat checked that. I'm not 100% sure. I wasn't watching the coaches film yet. Maybe Pace had more burst and explosion that first year. I couldn't really say. But Calvin Pace, he was with the Jets to 2014, 2015. Those last 4 or 5 years with the Jets, man, you want to talk about a guy who had really no explosion? I mean, yeah, that's Calvin Pace. Nowhere close to the pass rusher that Curry has been.
Well, we had Ahmed again. Sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong. Correct me if I am. I'll fix it. But he said he's basically looking at our outlook for Michael Carter in fantasy.
The running back,
dynasty versus. And somebody asked me about how I got that good of a roster. It's a dynasty league, so it's like a 3-year league. So if you
there's a lot of
players,
dumbasses.
No, if you hit on him, I took like AJ Brown in the 3rd round his rookie year. I said Stephon Diggs like the 2nd round before he went to the Bills. Like you got to hit on guys and then you build your roster. That's why dynasty is great. But he's asking about Michael Carter. Based on what I've seen in Yahoo drafts, he's going a little bit earlier for me for just a redraft league because the Jets are going to rotate their backs so highly. Where I think you're going to see a lot of reps of Ty Johnson and Coleman. So I don't think he's going to be that lead horse back. I can't bank on that. So he's going a little bit high for me. I think Elijah Moore and Zach Wilson, the guys you go after. Like we were in the draft the other day, Kyle. Mac Jones, Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, and Lance went. And I was like, I'm taking Zach Wilson. What are you guys doing? Like he's the second guy who's going to start over. Like what's happening? So
I wanted to take Zach and he took him.
I took Zach in my dynasty. So
that's
I'll have him for a long time. So you're 22. Did you go through 22?
No, I didn't say it yet. I'm going to say it in a moment. By the way, so Blewett made his list a while ago.
He was not drafted in 2008. There was no
way.
I'm not,
he was with the Cardinals before he came to the Jets. He was a big free agent signing.
I think people are mistaking what I'm saying. I thought he was drafted in 2005 and then traded from the Jets from the Cardinals, but people are saying 2008. There's no way.
I'm saying he came. His first year with the Jets was 2008. That's what I was saying. That's what I said.
I thought he meant drafted. I thought he was drafted 4 or 5.
I'm saying is I didn't. Back in 2008, I wasn't even watching all the broadcast games of the Jets. It wasn't until 2009 was the first year that I watched every single Jets game of the year. And then it took a couple of years before I started, watching coaches film and things like that too. So it's hard for me to really kind of assess Calvin Pace at his first couple of years. But though I can say definitely for sure with those last couple of years, he was with the Jets, there was a lot of years he was kind of like a jag on the Jets. There was very little explosion there. So Blewett made his list a couple of weeks ago, and he's kind of been editing here or there. I made my top 25 list last night. So I think this might be why we have a bit of a discrepancy. I like Curry as a player. I've hyped him up a couple times. I didn't put him on my roster. And part of the reason is he's not going to play with the Jets. He probably won't even take a snap with the Jets.
Yeah.
He's not going to play with the Jets this year, right?
Okay. Yeah. If that's your reasoning, I try to do like before injury too, because then where's Lawson?
Well, I do have Lawson on it, but part of that is because Lawson will be with the Jets next year, is my thinking. That's why I have a difference there.
Yeah, people talk about Tony Romo hyping up Zach Wilson. Like, yeah, sure, I love it, but he also just hyped up Sam Darnold too. But that is what it is. Like,
yeah,
Darnold coming out. Darnold, I like Darnold coming out, but we're not gonna get into the whole thing. 22.
Now, listen. Romo didn't make a Mahomes comparison with Darnold, but if I'm not mistaken, I think Romo said something along the lines he thinks that Darnold will eventually be the best quarterback in the NFL, something to that degree. So I don't have Curry on here because I don't think he's ever going to play a snap with the Jets ever.
That's fine.
22, I have Bryce Huff.
Okay. That's fine. We're going to talk about who just kind of missed the list before this, but I had Huff on the list prior to his preseason, which I think minus the Giants game, the last two games, he disappointed me.
Yeah, that's very, especially in run defense too.
Yeah. So who is your 21?
Tyler Kroft.
Okay. I have Jared Davis as my 21. So we were kind of in the same range of these guys. I have Jared Davis, and this is more like just thinking that he would improve based on the coaching staff he had. So it's kind of like not where he is now, but where he will be. And obviously he went down, which doesn't help him either, but we're in the same range. So my 20 after that is Shaq Lawson. I
have him 20 as well.
20?
Yep.
Yeah. Again, now we're getting to the range where like these are like decent starters. Like I think at this point in the roster, even at almost like Joyner, I had below average. Kroft, injuries, below average. Carter, can't say yet. Curry, based on the run defense, below average. Davis, below average. Top 20, I think we're getting to average players. Lawson's my 20 again. Watch review. I'm recording it tomorrow. Will it be out tomorrow or Saturday? I'm not sure. And then after the Eagles game, I'll do that too. I'll make it shorter because who gives a shit about the Eagles game? I'm still going to do it. Solid run defender, like really solid run defender. And a decent pass rusher, bull rush. But again, hand placement sometimes a little bit wide, so he doesn't have the strongest kind of angles in terms of getting into his chest.
What's his get off the snap like?
Okay, it's average. It's not good. It's and sometimes he's late. Like sometimes he'll be really good, but it's inconsistent. Like there's times where the guys are up before him. So inconsistent snap timing, not great burst. It's the power.
One thing my brother kept saying, and I'd like to see, if you kind of agree with what my brother said. My brother's a Bills fan, by the way, who had all the reasons in the world to root for Shaq Lawson. And he was certainly very happy when they did draft him. I think he said something along the lines of Lawson always kind of seemed like he was thinking too much. Like if it was a very obvious passing situation, like a 3rd and 10, his get off would be decent. But if it was a down, like let's say like a 3rd and 3 or something like that, where a team could run or pass on that down, he would oftentimes be too concerned with fitting the run, and he would have a slower get off in terms of making a pass rush move. It seemed like he was thinking too much. I don't know if this is coming from my brother, Bill.
I don't agree with that.
Okay. I might be misquoting him too.
I actually put in his strengths that he plays the run to the pass actually pretty well. I thought in terms of transitioning from like seeing the ball not being handed off to transition to a pass rush move. But
okay, and I might be misquoting him too. So if I am, I'm sorry, Gary.
Yeah, no. Does he listen? I don't know. But,
he has before. I don't think he does all the time.
Yeah, no, and I didn't notice that. I just think he's not a great athlete in general. But he's again his main strength is his power. Like if he were to get his technique down and his hands down, his again counter moves once he gets locked up, not great. But if he were to just get leverage and timing of his hands down, he is super, super powerful. Like very powerful.
He shoots too wide with his hands, and like he doesn't get his elbows inside.
Too wide. Yeah, they're not locked, so he doesn't get like that, like kind of like the quarter turn. You're talking about like you're activating like your scapula, all that shit I talk about in the film review. So they're kind of wide, so it's not as strong. And sometimes they're too high, like into the V of the neck. So he's not really generating the force where obviously you should, like mid pec type area. Sometimes
how often does he throw a long arm?
Not often. It's a lot of just kind of duck his head, bull rush. And then towards the Dolphins seasons, more when I saw some double swipes, some rips. So it looked like he learned some moves going to the Dolphins. that are a little bit more effective, but he's definitely more of the one-dimensional pass rusher with power. But again, average pass rusher, good run defender to me. So in terms of a starter, I think he's an average type starter, which 6th-round pick, $1.5 million, $5 million next year, playing next to Lawson. Lawson next year. Let's go.
I think the part of the reason they specifically went after him versus other potential names on the market is because they saw that the run defense looked a little suspect in the preseason.
Oh, I cannot agree with you more. And people, and again, that's something I saw on Twitter. Shaq Lawson is a Vinny Curry replacement. No, not at all. They're not the same player at all. Complete opposites almost. So 20, Kyle, who's your 19?
Bryce Hall.
Oh, Tammy. I remember Tammy. Tammy's the
Niners
fan. Niners fan.
Tammy, I knew that.
Yes, but she said something before that I thought was a little bit out of there.
Tammy, you're not the only one who wanted the Niners to draft Zach Wilson. Kyle Shanahan did too.
Yeah, Kyle Shanahan. Yeah. Your ball was going to be beast. Yeah, that's what I asked. Tammy, he really didn't prove much in college. But okay, sorry. Who was your 19?
Bryce Hall.
I
think you have him higher.
Yeah, we're in a similar range right here because what's your outlook on Bryce Hall this year?
So I think that Bryce can develop into a quality starter. I think he's going to be relatively solid. I think he's going to, when he starts going against some of the speedier guys, I think he could struggle a little bit. But I think when he goes, so if he were to, and he won't go against him this year, but if he were to go against someone like a D-Hop, I think he could do decent against DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah.
Someone who he can get physical with. I think he would do just fine. But yeah, against a speedier guy, like if you're going to put Bryce Hall in press coverage against Tyreek Hill,
dude, no. Yeah. So my 19, I struggled with this guy so much because I really like him. I just don't know how big of a role he's going to play. This middle portion, like 19 to 12, 13, I struggle with so goddamn much because there's so many average to slightly above average players. You know what? I'm gonna make an adjustment. I'm gonna put this guy here. I'm gonna put him one spot higher.
Okay.
Zach Wilson's my 19.
What?
Yeah.
No way. What the hell?
I'm saying these guys are average right now, right? Shaq Lawson's average. This is kind of where I'm at with my guys.
Oh my God.
Yes or no? Did I say that?
No, I know you said that.
Okay, so is Zach Wilson average? Is he if he's average this year, I would be happy with it. You think he'd be a top 10 quarterback? I think he's gonna be
he doesn't need to be a top 10 quarterback to be average.
That's what I'm saying.
Average is 14, but 15, average 16, to me, 17.
Average to me right now is the 19th spot on our roster. The other guys I think are slightly above average. Fuck. Yeah,
right,
I struggle so much.
Question for you. Do you also, when you did your top 25 ranking, did you also factor in value of position? Because I did factor that in as well.
No, not at all. Zero.
I'm saying it wasn't a big factor for me, but it did somewhat factor in.
Zero positional value to me. None.
Okay,
it's not about how much of an impact he's gonna make on this roster.
Okay,
I think that my 19th spot is average, and he's gonna be average.
But Joe, by your logic, if we had Harrison Butker, the kicker from the Chiefs, on our team, you'd have to rank him as a top 5 Jet. By your logic,
yeah, and that's why I said good stuff on the Justin Hardy thing because at his position, he's one of the top guys in the league. But so, I guess, but not really. I didn't consider special teams, but I think he's going to be an average quarterback this year based on how he plays and his numbers and all this stuff. And I think he'll progress even higher than that. But based on his rookie year, if he could be an average quarterback, I think not all of us, but I think we'd sign up for that. CD, you think I'm out of my mind? I'm talking about average guys right now. I'm not talking about positional value. I'm not talking about what they mean to the roster. I'm talking about what they are to their position.
Here's the thing I keep thinking. I keep thinking about Justin Herbert last year, and you could certainly make the case that
it's one of the best rookie seasons of the last 10 years.
Yeah, and he had some playmakers at receiver and stuff, but his O-line shit, you could argue coaching shit. I mean, the coaching staff was fired.
It was bad in some of those close games, yeah.
The defense, it's not like the defense was really keeping him in a lot of games or whatever. So he had a great rookie season. But the way I'm viewing it is if LaFleur is what we're thinking he can be, and I have high expectations for him, I see a very, I almost want to say stacked in terms of depth receiving core. I see a very solid offensive line.
Yeah.
And I see
Good
Wilson
coaching
as being I see no reason why he can't have a Herbert level season. And Herbert was a top 10-ish quarterback last year.
Okay. That's fine.
So,
Shadow said if Zach achieves what Josh Allen did in his rookie year, would you be satisfied? No.
Josh Allen was not good his rookie year.
Yeah, no. I would
Dude,
be.
Josh Allen from year 2 to year 3, biggest jump I can ever remember.
Yeah, for real. So go through 19 again. I just think he's going to be an average level starter, which you got to look at it minus the situation, minus the offensive line, minus the coaching, minus the receiver room. So I try to consider all that, and I think he'll be about average. That's where I put him. That's just, again, considering he's a rookie. So
okay.
Good. Who's your 19?
I did my 19. I said Bryce Hall.
Oh, my 18. This is who I just moved above him. I struggle with him a lot because I like his film a lot more than I think a lot of other people do. But just based on his role and stuff, like I put him a little bit lower than I think he probably should be, to be completely honest. I don't like him here at all. I really don't.
I have a feeling you're going to say the same person I got there.
Keelan Cole?
Yep. I got Keelan Cole at 18.
I do not like it. I don't, but
I think it's appropriate though. But here's my thinking. When I was putting together this list, I was like, shit, man, because we've been doing this for 6 or something years now. I was like,
they always suck.
The Jets roster is a lot better, especially in this part of the roster than it has been in previous years.
The middle, yeah.
Like I'd have to go and pull up. I mean, I still have them saved in my docs somewhere, but like if we're comparing, like to have like a Keelan Cole at 18 versus like who we'd have at 18.
He'd been in the top 10 a couple other years. We like Keelan Cole, I think, more than where he put him, but it's just like it's hard.
It's where he needs to be.
Yeah, it was hard. Okay, so who's your 17? Go ahead.
17. You're probably gonna have this guy higher, I would assume, but I have George Fant at 17.
Only a little bit higher. My 17 is. This is one of the guys who I'll be transparent with. I moved around the most, like multiple spots, and you're gonna know exactly who it is once I say this. I hate it because I'm like kind of letting the narrative sink into my mind. Based on like where he is, the injuries, the off season, I have Mims here.
Wow, I'm surprised to hear that. Honestly, from you.
I don't like it. I'm going to ask you at the end who.
If this for Connor Hughes making his top 25 Jets, I wouldn't be surprised with this ranking. But from you, I'm a little surprised. This
is an average player. I'm talking about an average. You think me saying Mims is going to be an average player who's probably, let's be honest, Kyle, this year you have Davis above him, correct? Right?
Oh yeah.
Let's talk about the Jets on the depth chart. You have Davis, you have Crowder, you have Moore. He's going to be the 4th receiver at best. So in terms of like his production, like all this stuff, do I think that's where he'll end up in his career, like the 17th best player?
You say roster? 4th receiver at best, but maybe in terms of playing wise percentage and stuff. But if you're telling me right now that Mims can't potentially have a bigger impact than someone like Crowder, he definitely can have a bigger impact than a Crowder.
Bigger impact, but who is better right now? Like Crowder is a top 10 slot receiver, no?
I agree with you, and that's why I have Crowder higher.
Okay, yeah. So
Crowder higher than Mims.
Mims is my 17, and if I think if the Jets were going to the season without Elijah Moore, and I knew Mims would see much more reps, I'd probably put him higher. But just based that he's buried a little bit, not even to the fault of his own, but just based on how good this receiver core is, based on what's been in recent past, and him not having a full year one, being injured this offseason, I think he's going to fall a little bit, but. I moved Mims around so much because I think he has a legitimate number 1 receiver talent. I really do. I'm not going to back down on that because that's what I said before the draft when the Jets drafted him. And Marcus Coleman said the same goddamn thing I said, and he had played in the NFL for 11 years. So I feel like this is low for Mims. This is where I put him. So who was your 17? And then
I said my 17, which was fan. Oh yeah, shout out to MN Ted Danson.
Another one. I think he has all 3 super chats. You guys, MN's dominating.
Yeah, thanks, MN.
Ted Danson is that guy you talked about before? Said Keelan Cole should be.
No, he was talking about Tony. He said Tony Danza before.
Who's Ted Danson?
Yeah, is that an autocorrect? I don't know.
I don't know either.
So I did my 17. My 16 is Sheldon Rankins.
MN says Mims is a bum. He's not a bum. 17 is Rankins.
16.
16 is Rankins.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Nope. That's gonna be our biggest difference of the night. Us on Rankins. I don't agree at all.
Okay.
Are you factoring in injury? Because even in his 2020, he was still productive. Like you watch the 2020 stuff, he was still a above average, solid defensive tackle.
Yeah, I think he's a fine player, but I mean, he's not the Rankins as of old. And
you think Mims is gonna be better than Rankins this year?
Yes.
Okay, that's fine.
Mims is on his career is going in the upward swing. Rankins' career is going in the downward swing.
Rankins was going up, then went down because of injury, and is now going to go back up. That's where we differ.
Do you ever think Rankins will get back to his peak? He won't.
No, but I think he'll be right below that, especially on this defensive line. Okay, well, we'll continue.
I mean, being that we have some other interior guys there, that's certainly going to take some of the priority off of him. Okay, that might be our biggest disagreement. So I'm assuming he's a top 10 guy for you based on that conversation that we just had.
Tammy said the Jets should trade Mims. No, people are saying we're young. Yeah, I don't know who. And again, you understand? We're talking about 600 names an episode, so sometimes names will slip. Something about football. I'm
32. I just turned 32 not that long ago. Joe, you're 29? 28. You'll be 29 when?
February.
Okay.
My 16, is Bryce Hall.
Okay.
So you had him a couple spots lower. I think based on impact, whatever. I think it's Hall at 16. I think you had him like 18 or 19. So he's a one spot. Him and Mims I move all the time, but I think Bryce Hall will be a slightly below average, like number 2 starter this year. And I think in his career, he'll average out to be like a solid number 2. But this year, again, being a second year in the league, he'll struggle a little bit. His preseason was overblown in terms of how bad it was. That cover 2 play was not his fault.
By the way, you never commented on. I commented my thoughts. You asked me to share my thoughts. You never responded to me.
Yeah, and you mostly agreed, so I didn't have to text you back. and then the play on third down where he was beat, like he was clearly pushed off. So I put bad PFF rating, whatever. But whatever.
Which player pushed off him?
Whoever that was in the Giants game. Remember, it was like third down and he ran like a comeback or a curl and he clearly pushed off of Hall and he's beat. It was like,
I just can't
Hall struggling again. Yeah, I forget exactly.
Who's your 15? Or did you say you said your 16?
Yeah, so my 16 was Hall.
Okay, so I guess I'll do my 15.
I don't know who Christopher Lloyd is. Continue.
The name sounds familiar. 15, I have Connor McGovern.
Okay. My 15 is George Fant, who you had a couple spots lower. I think he's an average starter.
Well, we've been saying below average for a little time now as a starter. We've been saying that for a while. Below average, slightly below average starter.
Yeah. Saying. So he's my 15, and then I'll go with my 14.
Christopher Great Scott. That's the Doc from Back to the Future. Why is he a Jets fan? Why are we bringing up all these old actors?
Because they're just calling us young and just trying to bring up stuff from the past. I know who that is, but I don't know his name. So I've seen
the Back to the Future.
If I've seen him one time in Back to the Future, do I remember what his name is? No, there's just no way. So my 15 is Fant. My 14 is Morgan Moses.
Okay.
I think he's only slightly above George Fant. I think he's overrated by fans. I think he's solid. I don't think he's a top 10 tackle. I think he's more in that 12 to 15 range.
14, I have Elijah Vera Tucker.
Okay. Tammy said trade Mims for some gummy bears. Yeah, you are buying in way too much to the national narrative of what Mims is.
And AVT is, it's all based on college film and kind of projection. We haven't really seen anything from him in the preseason. So
based on what you think he'll be this year, yeah.
Yeah. But we saw enough to think like it's, and we said this a lot. It'll be really And drafting linemen is really tough. There are a ton of linemen that bust and never live up to their potential, but he has a very high floor. It's tough. It's kind of tough to see him busting, to be honest.
So I'm going to go to 12 right here because I had a really interesting run and I tried to break it up, but I couldn't. Fant at 15, Moses at 14, McGovern at 13, ABT at 12.
Dude,
I think I'm
very similar. I
think they're all like average to slightly above average. Like ABC, I think it's to be average to slightly above average this year. McGovern, slightly above average. Moses, slightly above average. George Fant, Hall, Mims, Cole, all those I think are average-ish starters. But I just couldn't separate the linemen in terms of like, oh, well, Hall is a better player than Moses or Fant. Like I don't. If we're talking about a singular position, do you feel more comfortable with Hall at corner number 2 or George Fant at right tackle this year, not future? We're not talking about the future. So I had a run of offensive linemen. So go to your 12.
Yeah, I would agree, and that's why I had Fant higher than Hall. And my 13 is Morgan Moses.
Okay, so I'm at 14.
So yeah, we have a lot of offensive linemen in this general area.
Average-ish stretch, which is great. If you can have one or two, like I think Becton and ABT are going to be plus starters, like really good starters. If you have a center, right tackle, right guard who are average, that's one of the best offensive linemen in the league. If you can keep that together. So,
no offensive lineman is completely stacked across the board.
Either. You know who Andy Kaufman is? If you show me a picture of Andy Kaufman, do I know who
dude,
he is?
There's a really good chance that we've seen him in a movie. If he's I
just don't know the name, Andy Kaufman. Okay, so continue to see your 12.
So my 12 is Denzel Mims. 12.
Okay.
The thing is, dude, whenever the guy actually touches the field, other than when Sam Darnold is throwing him the football, he makes plays. And it doesn't always have to be him making plays where he's catching the ball. He blocks well too.
Yeah. The thing about Mims is playing with Gase or playing under Gase, playing with Darnold, injured in the offseason. All you have to do, and you're going to assume he took steps in the right direction this year, go watch the reviews. And Eagle is a great dude. He's not on here now. I haven't seen him in a while unless he's just not commenting. He timestamped every review. Go back to the Eagles, or not the Eagles game, sorry. The Chargers and the Patriots game, I think maybe the Miami game, and just watch those reviews and watch how he was playing with Joe Flacco versus Sam Darnold. In those games, he looked like a legit, really good receiver, like a very solid receiver. Darnold came in, he wasn't targeted, etc. But whatever. Yeah, I get your Mims thing there. I could not stop moving him around. So Mims is your 12, right?
Yeah. And dude, if we're just talking about Mims, just compare him to other Jets receivers. Like, he has better hands, I would say, than Brandon Marshall. He's faster than Brandon Marshall. I'm not saying he's Brandon Marshall yet. He has better hands than like a Braylon Edwards. I would even argue he's got like something like better body control than Braylon Edwards.
His body control is top notch. It is.
Like this dude has like really, really, really high potential.
He has number one receiver talent written all over him. 100%. If he puts it together, 1 billion%. And the thing about him too is, and you heard Davis, and we talked about this, I think, on another live stream. Davis insinuated that Mims wasn't working as hard as he should have, like on a day-to-day basis. I forget what the quote was, but he was saying,
Paraphrase.
He said something to the effect of like the mental game is like where he needs to improve. Like he needs to be here on day to day or something like that. So like I think he was struggling with the offseason and effort, and I think the Jets coaching staff, for what they're hyped up on, is effort and all this shit, with Saleh and Douglas. And I think they noticed it and maybe dropped down the depth chart a little bit, and
that's probably why he slid in the draft, to be honest. I mean, look at some of the guys that went before him. You're talking about that dude from Florida that went
Van
before
Jefferson?
him. Yeah.
No
way he should have went before
Michael
him,
Pittman
from a talent perspective.
Michael Pittman, not even close in terms of talent. Even and people are thinking I'm outrageous here because of what they did the rookie year. T. Higgins is not as talented as Mims.
Oh my gosh, no. I did not like his film. I'm not saying he's a horrible player or anything like that, but I was like, what's all the hype about this dude? So again, this goes back to something that we said before when we were talking about Reuben Foster. The teams have so much more information than us. They get to bring these players and interview them. They get to have them in their own facility. They get to talk to them at the combine and stuff and interview them and make them do whiteboard work and things like that. And Mims went at 59. Dude,
Yeah.
there is not 58 players
Yeah.
that are in that draft than Denzel
Even Mike brought up
Mims.
Jalen Reagor. Like Jalen Rager's not as talented as Mims. There's just no way. In terms
Yeah,
of
I agree
talent,
with
he's
that.
up there. In terms of his ceiling, he is way up there. Like he's like my fourth or fifth guy. Again, all the stuff this offseason, do not underrate Mims. And I did in this this thing. I kind of regret it. But Kyle, my 12.
But by the way, Tammy said
Sorry.
Mims show me the money has no heart. I wouldn't say that Mims has no heart. If he had no heart, you wouldn't see the level of effort that he has. He puts in extreme effort in blocks. If you have no heart in terms of football, as a receiver, receivers are prima donnas. You don't throw blocks like that if you have no heart.
Or just a Giants game with a yak. That's not a no heart play.
He just maybe we don't know everything. I don't know who his coaches were at. He might not have had the best coaching at Baylor. I mean, that was when he was there, that was a program that was kind of in flux, because they had that big scandal there and stuff. And maybe, he had Gase last year and that whole staff. So, maybe he's just having a slower learning curve than some other guys. But when he gets it, I think he's going to be a good player.
Talent on the roster. Like, let's say Mims was to reach his full potential. You could see Mims, Davis, and Elijah Moore as a dominant trio, like legitimately. Like Mims reaches his ceiling. He's a wide receiver 1. He is. I compared him to AJ Green coming out, and you can call me a bullshit or whatever. Me and Marcus Coleman played DB in the NFL. Go watch us break down play for play, frame by frame, his film, and it was there. So
what's the guy's name? Frank from Flatbush, dude. That's another one you should watch. If you're gonna watch if you're gonna watch one review from the 2020 draft class, that's the one you should watch. And
the thing with Marcus Coleman is he's not a bullshitter. So if I was gonna pull some bullshit breaking down film with him, he'd call me my bullshit. So go watch it. It's me and a guy who played DB in the NFL for 10 years, 11 years. Breaking down film.
And we bring up Frankie, and there he is in the chat. Yo, here's another thing too, and this is just coming to my mind. I'm just thinking out loud here. Okay, so Mims didn't have a training camp last year. What was it? What was it? Hammy injury? What was his injury that he had last year? Okay, so he has a hammy. Now you know that he has a bad coaching staff. Now I'm wondering. Okay, sometimes a player like that can get really discouraged. Shit, I'm not going to be playing for months.
Yeah.
He might not have been doing what he needed to do in terms of the playbook, in terms of the preparation standpoint.
Practice.
Now that's on the coaching staff, because even though he's not going to be, and it's natural for a guy like to get discouraged. And I think this is one of the reasons why the Jets love Carl Lawson so much. Carl Lawson got hurt. He's still in the next episode of One Jets Drive. Woody Johnson is still, tweeting about him and things. They love his work ethic. Someone like Mims, it's easy to get down on yourself when you're not going to be playing for months. And I think you can attribute part of that to the coaching staff. They probably, if he did, and I'm just speculating and thinking out loud, he might have got down on himself, wasn't putting the work in the classroom and all the work that he needed to be doing in the facility to get himself where he needed to be when he got back. And shame on the coaching staff if they weren't still treating him as if he were a healthy player. I don't know, but
yeah, I think in terms of like the day-to-day stuff with the Davis comment, and we'll move on. He's not a dog on the field. Like he's a dog on the field. Like that is blocking, yak, all that stuff. I think it might be a day-to-day practice, putting in full effort type of thing, or learning the playbook, whatever it may be. My 11 and 10. I'll go with my 11 first. My 10 starts to get a little bit. You'll see.
11.
Yeah, my 11 is Crowder.
Okay.
Above average slot receiver. I think he's a still top 10 type slot receiver. I think people underrate him because of the talent, the newer talent we brought in this year, but he's still a really good player.
Okay. 11, I have Zach Wilson.
Wow. Okay. You think he's gonna be above average starter this year? I think he could be.
I really do. I don't see the reason why he shouldn't be.
Okay.
Other than the fact that he's a rookie, but I just think that.
And I think we've gushed over him equally. Like you watched the review of him that I did, and I gushed over him. I just don't know I think if he could be an average guy year one coming from BYU, I think that's a really, really good step. So I could see him being top, like a top 10 guy though too. I could see it. I really could. So I don't blame you on this one.
In terms of talent of quarterbacks, he's already top 10. I feel very confident saying that. Part of me wants to say top 5. but I'll slow my roll with that a little bit for now.
Rusty compares Mims to Allen Iverson. Yeah, it is what it is. So yeah, give me your 11 and then go with your 10. My 10.
I gave him my 11. That was Zach Wilson.
Okay. Who's your 10?
My 10 is Jamison Crowder, which is one spot off.
Okay.
Here.
So this 3, I'm not comfortable with my 8 and 9, my 7, 8, 9 right now at all. I don't know what to do because I can still edit it before I say it. My 10. If you had one guess, do you have any idea who this is going to be? Like, I'm putting probably a little bit low.
Here, Marcus May.
Marcus May is my 10. Yeah.
Once you asked me to guess in your smile, yeah.
I think he's solid. I think he's above average, but people think he's a baller. And like that touchdown in the Giants.
He is a baller.
Dude.
He's a football player, man. He's not the greatest athlete in the world, but he's a good football player.
The pick in the Rams game, great. The Seahawks game, but then you heard him. I say that quote. He blew a coverage versus the Packers.
Even going back to his rookie year,
dude.
He's chasing guys across the field, catching a pick and stride on the goal line.
How about that Giants play where he blew that cover too in a simple ass read where he didn't get over the top of the spot concept.
Yeah,
he just blows coverages, and people don't notice it because people get the Raiders game
every
blew 2 coverages.
Every safety blows coverages. That is not an easy position to play. Corners definitely more difficult, but especially nowadays in the NFL, playing defensive back is hard. And
of course,
dude, I have sung your praises countless times of how you evaluate defensive backs, and your understanding of defensive back play is way above mine. So me coming at you on this is, I consider myself more of the student in this regard, but whatever, I'm still going to disagree with you here. And it's fine. Sometimes a student can be right.
Go ahead. Say what you're going to say, motherfucker.
I think you harp too much on several times where he has gotten beaten coverages. And I don't think that they're overly egregious. Like that one in the Packers game with Bryce Hall, that's a big one.
That's a bad play.
That one in the Chiefs game that you like to bring up a lot.
Okay. What about the Raiders game?
Which play?
Those were the 2 deep shots at the end of the game. Not the one with Lamar Jackson. The one before
I know that one.
Nelson Aguilar over the middle where Nelson Aguilar dropped it or Derek Carr overthrew him. Terrible blown coverage. That's
a bad one. That's a bad one.
So he blows like people think, super consistent, never blows coverages.
But you make coverages. Okay. When you talk about it, you make it seem like it's something that happens every game.
No, but it happens more than people realize who think he's a top 5, top 10
That's fair.
safety.
That's fair. But and maybe a lot of it for me is just comparing him to what we've had in other years. He's just such a big upgrade from any other safety that I can think of. And Kerry Rhodes had some good years with the Jets for sure, especially from a coverage standpoint. And you could argue that Kerry Rhodes is maybe a better cover safety than May, but May definitely is better at coming and fitting the run.
So Tammy's talking about Mims again. Tammy, I would invite you to go watch the 2-hour breakdown of him and then tell me which plays you disagree with because you're not going to. And then tell me something about Zach Wilson's middle of the road Jets going to be 2-15 season. They had Sam Darnold last year. He was worst quarterback in the league. They're going to go 2-15. You're crazy. Okay, so moving on. Sorry, Mims is my 10.
Jordan, I tried to. This guy took Zach Wilson over me in the dynasty draft last night. I was going to draft him.
Mims or May is not an upgrade over Jamal. Jamal Adams is a better player than May. I'll debate people to the moon.
I agree with that completely. They're very different players. Obviously. And that's why there's so much of this discussion with, and that's why you and I will go after guys like Samini and stuff. And it's like, dude, you've been covering the team for 30 years and you honestly think that May is a replace. He had that game where he had a sack against the Bills and X amount of tackles, 10 tackles, whatever it was, a couple TFLs, whatever. Oh, Marcus May can fill the Jamal Adams. They're completely different players. Completely.
Oh, polar opposites. But in terms of, do you think even if they were the same age, they try to trade Marcus May for 2 first-round picks and a third? There's no
we've had that discussion.
Way. There is no way to get that. Probably not a first.
Listen, there's reasons not to like Jamal Adams, but Jamal Adams is special at what he does. Marcus May is not special. I think May is good, but he's not special. Like the way that Jamal Adams can rush the passer as a safety who can also cover, is special. I mean, it's hard to even think. I mean, like, listen, Jamal Adams in terms of sacks is like already like top 20 all time for safeties. Something
and
like
it's not
that.
it's not like you want him like deep post, but like can he cover a tight end and all that stuff? Yes. And then we have people talking
It
about
might even be closer to top. I think honestly, it might be top 10. He's already in like the top 10 in terms of safety sacks
we have
for all
Frankie
time.
going at the Niners fan. C2K, I have to go watch your tape on Mims bashing. C2K, I don't know what you're necessarily saying there, but if you watch that Mims tape, you will be very impressed.
That's
guarantee it.
And that's why I'm fighting with him. He had Mims at what, 19 or whatever? Like,
no,
right? Where'd you have
17.
17. Okay, so you're five spots different than me. Yeah. I thought you would have Mims higher. I think you're falling in. Not really, because
I admitted it.
Honestly, it's confusing.
It's him being fourth on the depth chart versus me falling into it, because I think he's legitimately fourth on the depth chart. Where the other guys I brought up between Hall and Fant and Moses.
So if Corey Davis wasn't on the roster, where would you have him?
I said that he would be higher if they didn't have the guys up top. I literally said that, but I don't know. Obviously, reading the chat and trying to do all this stuff. Probably. 12?
Well, all right. My bad for missing your point with that. You're obviously mad at me for that. So I find your logic to be a bit troubling that you put such an emphasis on depth chart, but you also don't put such an emphasis on
talent.
On positional value. It's
kind of what they're going to be this year kind of factored into it. So like if Mims was higher on the depth chart, I knew he would see 80% of the snaps, 90% of the snaps versus this year where he might see 50 to 60. I'll put him higher. But just because Davis and Crowder and Moore are above him, I put him lower because I just don't think he sees enough targets to be as impactful of a player as some of the other guys I listed. But continuing on.
Okay. Yeah, let's move on.
Yeah, CD2K, please watch that breakdown. Let me know, because I guarantee if you haven't watched this, you go watch that review and you're like, holy shit, this guy is freaking talented. We probably shouldn't give up on him. Okay. 10 is Marcus May. I don't think I'm being unfair there, Kyle.
But no, I'm not going to. Yeah, my 10 was Crowder.
Okay. My 9, I think I put one guy too high, but the hype. My 9 is JFM.
That's mine too.
Okay.
And I actually had him slightly a little bit higher, but I made a change today. So
yeah, I just changed him now as you're talking because of where I thought this other guy will finish. Like I really do have a lot of faith in him. Both of our 9s, really good pass rusher. I think he upticks his number in sacks this year for sure. Run defense, he's okay. What moved him down a little bit too for me was like I think he's going to be playing more DN than I would like. I would like to see him more at D tackle. But he's my 9. My number. Who's your number 8? I want to forget the same guy.
Fadukasi.
Okay. I got to move him up another. I can't say his name right now. I'm moving up another spot. I can't do it. I have Rankins at 8.
Wow. Yeah, so you're talking about an 8-spot difference between the two of us.
I said it as soon as you said it, that's going to be our biggest difference. I think Rankin's going to be a really good player for the Jets this year. I really do.
I really hope he stays healthy, and it's something that we can revisit. Yeah,
that's definitely our biggest difference right now. I really, really, really like what I watched. And even in 2020, I liked what I watched a lot. Like if you just showed me 2020 stuff and just said this is the guy you're getting, I'll be ecstatic.
So we were talking about special before, and I was saying how like Jamal Adams is special at what he does, and Marcus May is not special at what he does, although he's solid. Rankins does have special traits. There's a reason why he was drafted 12, and you still see it every now and then. I just don't know that he can do it that consistently over a period of a season and stuff. And that's probably part of the reason why I don't have him as high.
Yeah.
But yeah. There are special traits there.
You saw it in the Giants
and
game.
He's such a good fit for this defense.
That preseason game again, the Giants like, oh, he just swatted the guy's hands. Like, no, what he did was he took like more of like those read steps where he shortened his stride, those first like 2 steps, saw the guy set too far inside, swiped him, got to the outside. And Tammy, we're not saying that Mims is awesome. Just you're thinking you said before trade him for a bag of peanuts. You're wrong. That is what it is. Moving on, my number 7 is Elijah Moore.
I have him 7 too.
I just moved him up above Rankins.
I had him so last night when I did it, I had him at 9, and I had Franklin Myers at 8 and Fadukasi 7. And then I jumped more up 2 spots. And my thinking behind doing that was like, all right, I think Fatukasi is about where he's at. And part of the thinking too is also positional value too, which was also my thinking. Dude, I'm not going to be shocked right now if Moore comes in this season and he's immediately like Pro Bowl level. Like I could see that this season. I will not be shocked if that happens. And you want to talk about a guy he's going to take some end arounds. They're probably going to put him at running back a couple times. We're going to see him on deep routes. We're going to see him eating over the middle. We're going to see a lot of yak from this guy.
I cannot believe he's available at 34. I cannot believe it.
He doesn't have long arms, but I love he catches the ball with his hands so effortlessly and immediately transitions to the run. Dude. And
5'9", plays like he's 6'1".
Like, dude, so I had to jump him just based on like, potential, like already where he's at, so 7 from me. Elijah Moore,
and I could argue him 6 right here because my 6 is Fatukasi, and you can argue that Fatukasi is more one-dimensional in the run game where Moore can do everything. So I could even put him over Fatukasi, but Fatukasi is one of the best run-stuffing nose tackles in the league. So I had to give him his due credit and put him at 6.
Who do you think might be over him? I'm asking. I'm struggling to think of run-stuffing nose tackles that are better than him.
Is Akeem Hicks still at that level?
No, he had a big injury a couple years ago.
Donald obviously is a run stuffer,
but Donald's not a nose though. So I'm saying just in terms of nose guys, can you think of anyone else? Like Snacks Harrison was the gold standard for a long time.
If I had to pull up a list, if I could pull up a list of guys, then I could probably tell you.
It might not be it might not be crazy to think that he might be the best pure nose run stuffer in the league. It's hard for me to think of someone better right now. And I'll tell you this, if my brother's listening right now, he'll probably say Star Lutulele is better.
No, dude.
I'm just saying, no, this is my brother saying this. Like, cause my brother was talking about how,
of course he will. Cause
he's
such a biased Bills fan. It's out of control. Of course they barely bought him in for anything. Like he
opted out last year because of COVID.
And he gets re-signed. He's like $4 million. He's like $4 million if he goes into free agency right now. He's a good run stuffer, but to say
there you go, Frank the Tank, Vita Vea. That I'd say Vita Vea.
Yes, Vita Vea.
He's good.
Yeah, Sue, Cox, Atkins, Hicks.
Sue's not a nose. Sue's not a nose.
Yeah, I don't. Brockers, he's not a nose. I don't. He's up there. He's definitely up there. Brandon Williams, is he still at his level?
No.
I don't know. Okay, so yeah, he's up there. So he's my 6. Did you say your 6 yet?
Vita Vea was never on the Niners, Tammy. He was drafted by the Bucks. He was never on the Niners.
Yeah.
Might be thinking of someone else.
Going to Green Bean's channel and see what happens about Mims. Yeah, I'm just not addressing it. We have too much stuff to address the Mims stuff to continue on to a Niners fan's opinion. I like Tammy. She actually comes in here and talks some stuff, but her opinion on Mims is way too low. Who was did you say your 6? Sorry, I got tripped up in the chat.
No, I didn't say my 6, so I'll say it now. I got Marcus May at 6.
Okay. So I had him 4 spots lower. Pretty much the same.
We knew that there was going to be some, I knew for sure there was going to be some. Yeah.
Yeah. Getting into the top 5. Give me your 5. I think we're the same top 5 in order.
Did you say in your 6 was Fatukasi?
Fatukasi. I think we're going to have the same top 5 in order.
Maybe not.
Maybe minus 1 player. I think I might have higher, you have lower. I think my 3 and 4 spot are going to be different with you.
This top 5 is going to be interesting. All right, 5, I got Mekhi Becton.
5, I have Corey Davis.
Okay. I thought we might flip-flop on that one.
Okay. Corey Davis, I feel like is a solid to slightly above or below. I think it's like a solid middle of the pack, below average number 1. That's what I think he is, which is great. That's great for what they signed him for. It's great. Like listen, the Pats signed Nelson Aguilar for $12.5 million. Davis, I think, is a legit number 1. Maybe not an upper tier or a middle tier number 1. Maybe a little bit lower tier number 1. But I'm still calling him a number 1 for $12 million. He's a legit player. He is. So don't think
I like it. He's super reliable, and I like reliable. I like a guy I can depend on week in, week out. You could argue, he's relatively injury prone, so maybe you can't depend on a weekend. Okay, if he suits up, I know I can depend on him. So I like that in a player.
Solid at everything, master of none. It really is that.
And, okay, so with Becton, there's no doubt that his ceiling is like way higher than Corey Davis. There's no doubt. I think part of me a little bit, you can't weigh too much in on preseason, but I think like Corey Davis kind of killed the preseason. Mekhi Becton, not so much in the games, but in practice. And again, he was going against Lawson, struggled a teensy weensy bit. So maybe that influenced my decision making a little bit. But yeah.
So you have
I wouldn't argue with you.
You have Davis at 4.
I have Becton at 5, Davis at 4.
So we flip flop there. I get your reasoning. I just think Becton will be a top 10-ish guy.
Okay. Now for the top 3, I have
we're the same.
All bolded and highlighted. And I think I'll say this. I think for the top 3, you could make a very fair argument for any one of these players being one. I think, in my opinion.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree. Yeah. If you had. Okay, who's your 3? I'll comment after because you're gonna know who my 3 is. If
okay, I have Mosley at 3.
Same. Jim said when you got this live stream every Thursday starts at 6:00. During the offseason, it's every other week, but now it's going to the season to be every week, so every day at 6. So I also have Mosley at 3. You could make it if it was Mosley coming into the Jets in 2019, you could probably put him number 1. I think he probably would be number 1 coming into the Jets in 2019. Injuries, opted out, haven't seen him. But people were saying this year, if he could be average, that'd be great. If he's average, I will be
huge disappointment.
Very disappointed. He's still top 10 inside linebacker to me. So he's 3 as well for me. And again,
and don't be shocked if he's a top 5 inside linebacker.
He never thrived off athleticism. What's between his ears is why he's so good. And he did not lose that. And he even got lighter and he still looked just as athletic in the preseason.
He's a very fierce competitor too. And
yeah,
even though
and he works out in his parents' basement, which is kind of weird.
Yeah. And he doesn't test like he's a great athlete or something like this, but he has this level of athleticism that it's like uncoachable. It's like something you can't teach, where
it's like
the way he bends around like a pulling guard or a tackle who's getting in his space that's trying to block him, the way that he can bend around those guys and then find his way to get onto the ball carrier and make a tackle, that might be the best part of his game. Maybe, communication and recognition of plays and things like that.
Yeah, against zone coverage, like drops. Yeah. But he doesn't get past. This is why he's not a good blitzer. He doesn't get past blocks, like second level blocks with power. It's more like spacing and athleticism, like slipperiness, if that's a word. CD2K said Cam Hayward or DeForest Buckner. They're not nose tackles. They're more D tackles, like 3 tech 5. Like even Buckner plays on the edge sometimes. So no, but yeah, both 3 are number 2. It's going to be the same guy. It's both Carl Lawson. We lost our second best player who arguably could be number 1 this year if, and he went down to a ruptured Achilles. So he's both our 2. I'm pretty confident in saying that, right? You're
right. And for me, the reason why I have Lawson at 2 is Lawson has, you could even say, a weakness in his game, and that he's average-ish, maybe slightly above average against the run.
Yeah.
He's extremely good as a pass rusher. And it's really sad that he couldn't go out and showcase to the entire league. I mean, he got snubbed on the top 100 players. He's got very special pass rushing abilities, and it's sad that he kind of couldn't showcase that to the entire NFL this year. Mm-hmm. But he has a weakness, you could say. And whereas I don't think Quinnen has a weakness in his game. So that's why I put Quinnen at 1 for that reason, even though I still won't say Quinnen's elite, but he might change my opinion on that this year. I won't be shocked if he does, but okay. I know Robert Saleh says all gas, no break. Listen, everyone wants to call me a Quinnen hater. I too have a Quinnen jersey, just like Joe. I'm just pumping the brakes a little bit, just pumping them a little bit with Quinnen. That's all I'm doing.
The thing about the whole Quinnen thing is, or not Quinnen jerseys, just really quickly. By the way, if you're going to Carolina, please, it's like an obvious thing to me, but people don't think about it. In terms of like showing the Jets you're there and like kind of like making Panthers like fuck these Jets fans, wear green. That's what I'm advising. The Panthers wear white. They also wear black. So if you're far away, it kind of looks like the same type of jersey. Going to an away game, wear green. I always recommend that, unless the other team does not wear black. I believe there in my Quinnen Williams jersey, wear green. Okay. But
Dude, I have a white Wilson. I gotta wear my Wilson, so I'm wearing my Wilson.
Just directly against the advice I just gave everybody in the chat. It's okay. Whatever. I'll
me,
let you.
For me, it's really personal, man, because
I buy a green Wilson.
Dude, I was stressed thinking that they were going to stick with Sam Darnold and potentially pass up on someone like Wilson. And dude, you know how excited I am? Like, someone at the top of the show was like, man, Kyle's excited. Like, I think it was like Yosmar who said that. Dude, my level of excitement would be so different if it was Sam Darnold still.
I was more, I had a really good feeling they're going to get rid of Darnold. My nervousness was more over, okay, they're going to take Fields over Wilson. That I was really, really nervous about them taking Fields, because I'm just not I would not be nearly as confident in the Jets' future if his Fields. I went into it. I'm not going to get into it again. Kyle, so we broke that. We did all this stuff.
So our top three was the same. Yeah.
Our biggest discrepancies were Sheldon Rankins and Mims. But we had the same opinions on Mims. It's just based on where I'm kind of ranking him this year.
If we can kind of go, I want to say one quick comment about the top three. So I said before we kind of rattled off who we had where, that you can make an argument for any one of them being one. And the reason why I almost, there was a part of me that considered typing Lawson at one, because Lawson, in my opinion, has special pass rush traits, yet I still wouldn't say that Quinnen is special in any one area yet, although I would say he's very good in multiple
Kyle, can
areas.
you talk for 2 more seconds? I'm gonna run to the bathroom real quick. I'm gonna wrap up the show.
Sure. I'll look at the chat.
I just can't do anything else.
Sam Wilson, I guess that's someone making a thing out of Sam and Zach. Neither of you guys had Guidry. Interesting. I considered him. The thing with Guidry is we just haven't seen too much of him. We only saw him in little spurts at the end of last year. I did consider him, but now I had Ty Johnson at 25. So you could also argue, we didn't see much of Ty Johnson either. And that's fair. But I guess I saw a little bit more of him than Guidry. And to be quite honest, are we even sure that Guidry is going to be the starting slot this year over Michael Carter II? I'm not even entirely sure about that. So we'll see. Quinnen said he's Fletcher Cox, not Aaron Donald. Yeah. And that's interesting. And I think me and Joe kind of talked about this a couple weeks ago. We were saying that you can't, and listen, Coleman does a lot of great work, and he's Brett Coleman I'm talking about. He's extremely talented in terms of, he knows a lot about football, but he's also extremely talented narrator, and he does great editing film work too. So when you combine all those things, Coleman is kind of very unique. Coleman said his title for his Quincy Williams video was The Next Aaron Donald. And that is no one is like Aaron Donald. And Joe and I were saying a couple weeks ago that Quinnen is much more like Fletcher Cox than an Aaron Donald. Yeah. So it makes sense that Quinnen studies Fletcher Cox.
He's a unicorn.
He really is. Yeah.
It's like me trying to study how to run like a horse. Like there's no point of it. Why?
Yeah.
So
hey, Chad, did I hold it down while Joe was gone? Because sometimes he gets nervous that I'm not.
There's a reason I have to pee quick. No, somebody mentioned that we didn't have Guidry in there. I think Guidry could be in there.
I brought that up.
And I think he might, if he had to press me based on this year, I could probably put him at 25 above Joyner. Like I think he might be a better slot guy than Joyner as a safety.
Yeah. Like I said, I consider putting him there, but it's just so we don't have too much on him yet. And the thing I said was, we also don't have that much on Johnson yet either. So, by the way,
I love Mike. Mike said 7 out of 10. You get a 7 out of 10 for holding it down. That's great.
I'll take it, Mike. That's above average.
It's a passing grade. No, it's a passing grade. It's like a C, right?
Yeah.
I know public schools are a little bit lower. Like they grade a little bit lower because the kids, are kind of, a little bit sketchy who go to public schools. I'm fucking around. Please not take that personal. I'm obviously joking.
Teachers too, man.
They suck. Even though teachers at public school get paid a lot more than Catholic school, so maybe they're better.
But listen, dude, let me just be honest. And
Tammy's
I'm a teacher.
Tammy's getting a Zach Wilson jersey, by the way. Bravo.
That is cool, Tammy. That is cool.
You're a weird Jets fan, Tammy, but we'll take you as like a kind of like our, I don't know, second cousin.
Yeah, that could be your AFC team, Tammy. We only play each other once every 4 years. Be higher on them,
and we'll accept you more.
I think now it's once every 3 years with the new
John
rule.
Hassel gave you an 8, Kyle. That's a B-.
Okay, I'll take it. Anyway, dude, with teacher, and I'm a teacher, so you could say I have a built-in bias or whatever, but I've just seen it too many times. So I got a degree in history. All right. What are you going to do with a degree in history other than teach?
Mm-hmm.
Not much you can do, right? So
Yep.
sometimes you get these guys that study history in college. They like history. They read history books, but they're not good at connecting with kids. They don't like kids, or they don't know how to teach this thing and make it meaningful to kids. So some of these guys, they get these history jobs and they hate the kids and they just hold on to the job forever. Right. And because of the tenure laws,
Yeah.
it's almost impossible to fire a teacher like that. So it stops young, hungry teachers from getting those jobs because you got some old person just hanging on to the job.
Talk about degrees really quickly. Just a side note: at the 177 people in here, if one of you is thinking about being a police officer, do not get a criminal justice major. It is pointless if you're being a cop. It's if you're trying to be something else like passive, like forensics, all that stuff. Yeah, but you learn a lot of stuff in the academy anyway. So a lot of chiefs will see that and be like, okay, so now you learn stuff that we are gonna have to like kind of reteach you. So I have a business degree actually, but moving.
By the way, I knew a guy who he studied Arabic language and culture, and he got a job as a police officer. No criminal background degree or whatever, and he got hired into the department, which had a lot of had a lot of Arabic speakers and stuff. And he said that the police department was looking for that because they want someone who can communicate with people that might not be able to speak English. So I can, just based on people who I know anecdotally and stuff, yeah, criminal justice degrees are useless.
They're pointless.
And by the way, I have a lot of students that want to become cops and stuff.
Don't
Tell
study
them
directly from
I do
one
tell
who's
them
seen
that.
the hiring process. Do not be a criminal justice major. It is pointless. You literally go to the academy to learn all that shit anyway. Joe and Kyle giving this real life talk. Joe, how did you get interested in me? This is like more of the 4:00 stream is in the morning that I do. My family, my mom was a dispatcher. My dad was a police officer too. And for me personally, it's kind of corny. I do like helping people, not as much as it's like my first answer an interview question because they will call bullshit. I can't sit behind a desk. I can't do the same thing every day. So I enjoy it a lot. I'm somewhat of a little bit of an adrenaline junkie, and sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. But I like it for the most part. I don't like cops' relationship with the public right now isn't the best, but I'm not getting into that. I'm a good cop, so it is what it is.
Hey, Rodrigo said he teaches history as well and can relate to your problems. That's cool.
And then said I'll be a real ball breaker cop. One, I'm already a cop, and two, I'm not a ball breaker at all. Actually, I don't write a lot of tickets. But if you're gonna be a dickbag when I pull you over, be a dickbag, and I can be a dickbag back. I give people a lot of slack. I really do. Okay, so if you want to ask any questions before we wrap this up, then drop them in there. The one thing I will say, I'll do a little bit of housekeeping again before we get to the guys who just missed and who we moved around a lot. Carolina game, Jets, Pats game. DM me, Joe.Blewett at jetsxback.com, Blewett Joe at Yahoo. If you want to come and just meet up, that's cool. If you, and I this is the people who I really want to reach out to. If you're one of those people who doesn't like have a lot of connections, who lives here by yourself and nobody will go to the game with you, do not be afraid to message us and say, hey, I want to come to the game. Can I come with you guys and tailgate? 1,000%. Because I know people who don't come to the games because they have nobody to go with. I would prefer you to come to the tailgate and stuff with us. So come, drink, play cornhole, get dominating cornhole, flip cup, beer pong, whatever. You'll see a big Jets bus. It's going to be fun. Kyle will be there. I'll be there both games. And I'll be there more games after that. But do that. Again, Nick's Integra, I am reaching out to you in terms of getting to the Discord, you son of a bitch. Fantasy draft tomorrow night. And Kyle.
So I'll say, hey, before we close out, I know we're getting to the end of the show.
Yeah, we still have to do some topics before we close out.
Well, so before we do those topics, and we got to wrap it up quick because I'm on a little mini vacay right now, but I'm still doing this from the hotel room. Okay. People in the chat, we'd like to hear some of your feedbacks on where we rank the players. Now, I know you might not remember it all off the top of your head who we had where, but who do you feel like we were too high on, or who do you feel like we were too low on? I'd like to hear some of that in the chat. You guys can also put that in the comments after the recording is done as well. If you're
Yeah, man,
listening to this on the recording.
I'm not a ball breaker at all. We went over Josh Adams a while ago, Jordan. He's been in and out, but yeah, I am far from a ball breaker at all. I actually try to get along with people. I feel like trying to get on people's level and talk to them is much more effective than being a dick. It's just being a dick is never going to get you anywhere. It's just not. But Kyle, guys who just
the same goes for a teacher too. Like
for any job, if you're a dick right after people, they're going to meet you at that level. But if you try to meet them at their level and then they're going to be a dick, then I'll be a bigger dick than you can ever imagine. But I don't. That's not how I'm going to approach people. There's no way.
Yeah, but and I'm not going to try to act like the jobs are the same at all. But like, as a teacher, if I had a kid acting like a dick towards me, and then I took it as a license to act like a dick towards him back, it's not going to go well. They're going to see, oh, we're getting to him,
dude,
and they can get under your skin.
And in my town too, really quickly, we have a guy in my county who's a mental health advocate. So we have an entire building that is dedicated to people who suffer from mental health issues. And if they're going to act crazy, and if I act crazy in response back to the crazy people, we're going to have a real big problem, So you got to know how to do it. But we're going to continue on. The guys who moved around a lot, we'll do two more again. We have to go right after that. But again, Nick's message. I'm literally messaging you right after this. So if you don't join the next 20 minutes, Nick, I'm going to really be mad at you. So, guys who moved around, go ahead, Kyle.
You're talking about people who we moved around in our lists a lot.
Yeah, Mike said he's higher on Zach than Joe. Maybe on this list, but not. I don't know in general. But yeah, who in this list? Maybe because you didn't do it as early as I did. But yeah, I jumped around a lot with certain guys.
If I did it like you said, you did it like a month or two ago. It was like when you started. I probably would have switched it around more as well. I moved more up a couple spots. Who else did I move up? I think I switched Keelan Cole a little bit. Not too much, but I did switch him around a little bit. Initially, when I wrote this out, I didn't even have Gerard Davis on here. And I think part of that is when I was going through the roster, on the Jets roster on the website, he wasn't there. So I was like, oh, I got to put him on somewhere, but just not very high. Let's see. Anyone else that I moved around a lot? No one who I moved around a lot.
Yeah. Eagle brings up just somebody said somebody died from mental health issues. Let's Talk Jets brings it up a lot. You're never alone. Yeah, of course. Like people can always reach out. My job, I've dealt with people who are literally on the edge of their balcony. So I've dealt with plenty of that shit. So I see that very often. So anybody can always reach out, and I'll never put that public either. Like I wouldn't tell Kyle, I wouldn't tell anybody if you were to reach out. But I deal with that more than there's 86 people in here, probably 85 of you, that's my job pretty much, or a big part of it. So the people who jumped down are a lot for me. Rankins.
Hold on. I want to, and by the way, one of the things like, in the past year and a half with all the lockdowns and stuff, we saw like a real big rise in mental health issues because reality is people weren't seeing each other as much. And even though you and I are talking like this, it's not the same when you see people in person, so and a lot of people lost their jobs or they couldn't go to work or their job was forever changed. So people's mental health right now in the last year and a half has really taken a toll, but even if it could be reaching out to someone on Twitter and, shooting a DM and just talking to someone or, meeting up with people on YouTube, if that helps, then, it always helps to reach out to people and stuff. So,
yeah, again, definitely feel free to reach out to me or Kyle. One, I deal with it a ton in my line of work. And two, based on the people who I work with, I think cops have the number like 1 or 2 highest suicide rate in the country. So, I've known people who have done it. I've seen people who get trained on it. It's serious, so reach out. And then be careful. Yeah, I appreciate that, bro. I am. So the guys who jumped around a lot for me, Rankins, based on what I saw in 2018, he was a guy who, if he was 2018 Rankins, could be easily almost top 5, if not top 5. 2019 injured, bull rushed a lot, wasn't as healthy. 2020 bounced back a little bit. He jumped around a ton for me from like 6 to 10 to 12. JFM, another guy who jumped around a lot. McGovern jumped around a lot for me as well. from like average to above average, like what I thought of him coming to the Jets versus what he was last year. I think he'll be an above average center this year. Mims, my fourth guy who jumped around a ton from 12 to 19 to 17 where he landed. Coop Harrison even doing a live stream just talking helps. Yeah, 100%. The honor of this.
Now I think of it, I did move Mims back a couple spots. I think I might have had him top 10 initially, and I think I slid him back a little bit.
Yeah, and I don't want to keep harping on this, but like Eagles in here, Mike's in here, Coop, like, and don't think if you were struggling with any of that stuff, I would look at you differently. That's bullshit. I would never be like, oh, Mike, I think Mike's cool. Mike thinks about, harming himself. I'm going to think of him differently. I'm just saying a name, Mike. Like, that's not the case at all. So, yeah, don't do that. Cole was at 18 for me, CD. So, yeah, those guys moved around. Now, a couple of guys who just missed the list, Kyle. A couple of years ago, this used to be like 2 or 3 guys for me. Now it's like 10. But go ahead.
I'm sorry. Can you say that again? I think I just got a message that we're like, because my school got flooded after this storm. So like I got really distracted by that.
More online classes. Okay.
God.
Who are some of the guys who just missed the list for you?
Joyner was one that just missed the list. I said I considered Guidry, not really seriously, but I thought Michael Carter the first. I thought really hard about putting him there, but I kind of told myself if I put him there, it's kind of just because what I think he can be, and there's a lot of hype behind him, and obviously the staff loves him and stuff, but I couldn't actually justify putting him there, but he came close. So those are a couple names that pop out. I'm scrolling through. I thought about Wesco, but I was like, he's just not. He doesn't do it enough with me. I considered Van Roten too. I thought about Van Roten. I mean, listen, I think people shit on Van Roten too much. If we're comparing Van Roten to guards that we've had in previous years, he's decently better than some guards that we've had over the last 5 or so years.
Yeah, like we would put Winters in there. I think he's just as like the same level as Winters, if not a lot better.
Sure.
And then said PBA. Was that
talking about like PBA cards?
Yeah, PBA is like that's for me like the PBA. I'm a part of a PBA, but I don't know if that's what you're talking about. And then clarify if you could. So I had like a list almost of people who I didn't put in here, and I put them like 1 through 10. And this is not like I didn't really think about the list, but Bryce Huff, Ty Johnson, Ronald Blair was somebody who was in it until he's been injured a little bit. Like Ronald Blair is underrated in my opinion. GVR.
Yeah, when I saw that he's on the practice squad now, I didn't consider him for that reason.
He's been banged up.
But he might have been in my list if it wasn't for that.
If you're talking about him versus like Joyner, who's my 25, I'm thinking Blair all day.
I enjoyed his film a lot better.
GVR, Hamza, who I think will be near getting in this list. Phillips, Shepard, Guidry, Wesco, and I had like Coleman and Ashton Davis like down like Coleman, Davis. I think they could be in there, but they're like my 10 and 11.
Isn't it sad that like I saw Davis's name and I'm like, damn, like honestly, a really early 3rd round pick in his 2nd year, he should be on this list, but I never even really considered him. Sad.
Yeah, so that's about it, Kyle. Do you want to give your quick thoughts on week 1? It's the last time I'm going to talk to you about before week 1.
Yeah,
we'll have to go. It's 9:37 though, so we really do have to.
Yeah, I think that too many people are still sleeping on the Jets. Like
we're like a 5-point underdog right now.
I'll say the name again. My opinions do not necessarily reflect that of JetX or whomever else. This is me, Kyle Smith, talking. Anyone can quote me or whatever. When I saw the Jets beat writer DJ say that, Bless Austin's cut, now I'm going to go with the Panthers. Like, what do you think is so talented about the Panthers roster? Like, yes, Sam is in year 4, Zach is in
or about
year
Bless
1.
Austin to flip your opinion on a game because of Bless Austin being
like, do you really think that that Sam is a better quarterback right now than Zach? Come on. Like, dude, this Panthers O-line, listen, how much did Sam struggle under pressure the past couple of years? He's, other than their right tackle, Moten, their offensive line is disgusting.
It's worse than the Jets were last year by far.
Okay. On defense, I know they got the guy from Auburn who, he's not much. I wouldn't say he's much of a pass rusher. He's a hell of a run stuffer. Horn. Okay. Like their secondary is, they got Chin, they got Horn, they got some other safety who's not bad. Like their secondary is, I think they got
I'm gonna
AJ
go over the roster on the show.
AJ Boye, but he's a corner on. Like, okay, so there you can argue that their secondary is better than ours. I wouldn't argue that, but like, why does anyone think this Panthers roster is that stacked? Okay, they're home. I'll give them that too.
And they were what 5-11 last year, and how much? Like, what did they really upgrade? Like, I think in terms of a game by game basis, like I'm taking Teddy Bridgewater over Sam Darnold.
Yeah,
for just one game.
Oh, yeah.
I'll be more nervous against Teddy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think that we can run on them. I think we're going to run on them a lot. We're going to run some play action bootlegs. And after that run has been established, Zach's going to have a couple guys open downfield. I think Elijah Moore can smoke one of these guys. Corey Davis is going to be a pain in the ass to cover. We're going to hit a couple shots in this game. And I think we're going to score on a couple long touchdowns. I
think we're going to move it.
And I think Sam Darnold's going to make enough mistakes. I wouldn't be shocked if he throws 2 or more picks in this game, even though like the biggest question is our secondary. Can Darnold take advantage of it?
Who is their corner 2 right now? I'm blanking out. Like who is their do they have a good 2 in slot? And even
they let Curtis Samuel. You're talking about their corners?
Yeah, because even Horn is a rookie. So like you're talking about the Jets.
I don't know who their slot corner is.
Because in my opinion, in this game, I'll give my prediction on the show I do, which is probably the Eagles game. I'll probably do the Eagles game and then this with the pick'ems, by the way, for the people who are in the pick'ems. I think they'll be able to run the ball. Their interior defensive line is not very strong. Their edges are like Brian Burns, but I think you have good enough tackles to lock that up a little bit. But I think they're going to run on them, and I think, like you said, they'll take some play action like shots, and I think Zach will be relatively comfortable because I don't think they have the best rushers in the world. My main concern with the Panthers is McCaffrey versus whoever's guarding him because he's the best running back in the league when he's healthy.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
And then if the rush isn't able to get there, I'm obviously worried about DJ Moore, who you should trade for. DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson and who they just got in the whoever they just got in the draft too, versus our corner. So I'm worried about that. But I don't think Darnold is a good enough decision maker and comfortable enough in a pocket that should, even if they don't get there, be squeezing down on him enough to kind of make that a big enough difference for us to lose the game. I just don't think Darnold is good enough for his quarterback to take advantage of a good receiver.
And think about that. All right, so McCaffrey he's a insanely unique weapon. There's not really any other running back that's quite like him. But I don't know that the things that he does well fit well into Darnold's skill set. Okay, so like let's say McCaffrey running a Texas route out of a backfield. I can't think of really many plays where Darnold threw a nice Texas route in stride. Darnold's not particularly a good screen thrower. Darnold's not particularly good at throwing a wheel route to a back out of the backfield. So like, I mean,
minus that Le'Veon Bell. Minus that Le'Veon Bell play against the Raiders.
Oh yeah. Okay. So like when you think about like if we get Sherwood matched up 1-on-1 against CMC out of the backfield where CMC is running a wheel route, like that's concerning. Yeah. Although wheel routes to running backs out of the backfields are very low percentage throws. I mean, but again, sure. So, but I don't know. I don't think that we need to be scared of Sam Darnold. And, he had a pretty good stat line in the third preseason game, but like the average depth of target was like 2 yards. And that's go ahead.
And apparently he had a couple of like interceptable balls that weren't picked off and things like that. So I wouldn't look too much into the stats. But in general, I just think, again, running the ball is our main bread and butter. I think Reuben will do that on the Panthers. They have a young secondary who I think they can take advantage of on some play action shots. And I'll get into the matchup a little bit more again, and then our defense against their offense. Listen, their strength is the passing game, but who is operating that passing game? We've watched him for 3 years. We watched him last year, and we're talking about that player with the worst offensive line that he had last year with the Jets, versus a good rush. Like regardless of Lawson or not, this is still a top 15 to 10 defensive line in terms of pass rushing in the league. So he's going to face pressure.
And the thing is, we're strong with our pass rush on the interior, which is where they're weak. You
have Elfline against Quincy Williams and Sheldon Rankins, and their center and right guard are garbage. There's going to be so much interior pressure for Darnold this game. I just don't see him being able to take advantage of DJ Moore's and Rob Anderson's deep. My concern is, again, Christian McCaffrey dump offs versus, Hamza or Sherwood or even Mosley. Like, CMC is a savage, but
Yeah.
I think I predicted 27-20 in this game. Kyle, what's your prediction? And then we'll get off unless there's anything else on the chat. But we gotta get out of here.
I'll say 13 for the Panthers. I don't see them scoring more than one touchdown.
Even those receivers were sort of guys like quick. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, Sam Darnold. 13 points for the Panthers, and I'll say Jets. I'll say Jets 23 points. 23-13.
Okay, I'm saying 27-20. I think Jets will score a little bit. I think the Panthers will be able to score back, which is obviously more. Evan says he wants to make a donation to the PPA. Okay, I'll put that $2 to the PPA. I will. Okay. Kyle, anything else before we wrap up?
Join the website, jetsxfactor.com. One person said he's joining today. Hopefully it's more of you guys.
Yeah, if we can get one guy per episode, that's great. If not, then get likes and all that stuff. Shares is great.
Yeah.
And,
share the show. Like, we got over 101 likes right now. That's not bad. But we've had way more than 101 people in here at any given time. So there should be more likes. If you like the show, smash the like button right now. Don't wait. All right.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And then, like I said, Kyle and I will see a couple of you. One tomorrow night in the Discord, 2 at the Panthers game and at the Jets game after that. But we will be back. What's the date, Kyle? We will be back the Thursday, the 16th, after the first week. And then after the 16th, I'm doing a weekly Thursday show again. 1 week Kyle, 1 week Nanya and Sabo, and then we're going to keep rotating back and forth. So we appreciate you all, and we'll see you later.
All right, guys. Peace.